welcome in to Check the Mic. Steve Palazzolo, Sam Monson. Time for our Week 3 NFL review. It's all presented by FanDuel, and we are live, Sam.
From where, Steve?
From the Antonio Cromartie studio, in part with Huggies.
There we go.
Naming rights courtesy of our Howard Hughes billionaire, Drew.
Mm-hmm. Billionaire named the studio.
That's it.
Just like Howard Hughes would do.
Men of our word.
Yep. Absolutely.
We said naming rights to the studio. We're up for grabs.
He's also he's up on the wall over there, the Wall of Fame, and he's in a different color because he's a billionaire. You know, billionaire gets special treatment.
Oh, man, you know how to treat billionaires.
Yeah, different color pen.
Appreciate our billionaire Drew. So the naming rights are locked in right now until the next billionaire signs up. It's all part of our memberships. Go check it out. Appreciate Drew, though, for being a part of the show here. Appreciate everybody for being a part of the show.
Absolutely.
Week 3, Sam, every week. Doesn't it just feel like a lot happened and, head swirling? But yesterday in particular, let's kick it off with this. Yesterday, there were 7 NFL games, 7 games that featured a game-winning score in the final 3 minutes of the fourth quarter.
Yep.
Right? Just felt like that. Felt like a lot of craziness was happening. Did you see history? Well, you did. That was the most such games in a single day since the merger. Since 1970. Since all that old school 70s and 60s hybrid music and AFL and NFL. Yesterday was crazy.
Yeah, it felt like a game it felt like a week where, every week there's some crazy things happen, but fumbles and blocked kicks seemed to be the theme of yesterday.
It really did.
Particularly in a couple of games. I mean, there were 2 games in particular where the number of fumbles was like off the charts insane, and then blocked kicks all over the place that were not just randomly throughout the game, but like critical game situations late on that determined the games.
All right, man. Let's get into all of it. You ready?
Let's.
It all started Thursday night. Buffalo Bills and the Miami Dolphins. Buffalo got the win, 31-21 to go to 3-0. Dolphins fall to 0-3. A 10-point win for Buffalo, but it was close. It was close to the end. Tua Tagovailoa with an interception on the comeback attempts there. They were going back and forth for a while. Pretty competitive game. Pretty good showing by Miami, but they're just not as good as the Bills.
I wonder if anybody made the Tua turn the ball over joke after that.
Oh, I'm sure they did.
Yeah.
I'm sure they did. His interception, Terrell Bernard jumped a little stick route. Mm-hmm. And apparently, I saw little snippets of it. Apparently, this was hotly contested in the Twitter sphere.
Yeah, well, it seems to have been a bad play design as much as anything else, because there's a section of people that are like, given the way this play is drawn up, I don't understand why he doesn't know that linebacker is inevitably heading to that spot simply by the way the play is drawn up. Like, that's the way he's going to start moving, and there's no reason to stop moving in that direction, once the ball is snapped. And then there's another section of people that are like, but this specific thing, that like the route does not haul this guy from this inside receiver, so it's not on Tua. Like, somebody else has got to do that. But if you watch the way Miami runs this concept, that's clearly deliberate. Like, that's a way they never do that, right? So that's the way it's drawn up. So it's like, who do you put the blame on? The quarterback that followed his instructions effectively, right? That just painted by numbers, or the play design / call that inevitably pulled a linebacker towards this football.
And that's a friend of the show, Kurt Warner, who is generally upset with the play design across the league, who's blaming the play design. People have their tendencies, right? I blame the play design. Yet Dan O tends to blame just the coaches generally, the entire supporting cast of the quarterbacks, and a lot of people blame Tua. I'll tell you what happened on that play, though. Deion Walker had an instant pressure in his face.
Yeah.
That's got to be terrifying. 6'7", 340 pounds, bearing down on you about a half second into the snap. So it was really tough to see. It was also slightly tipped, that pass. So anyway, that was a key play. There are 2 really key plays in this game for Miami as underdogs trying to pull the upset in the division matchup against Buffalo on the road. It was 21-21. Dolphins were off the kicker.
Yep.
The
Huge
punter.
Play.
Bills go down and score a game-winning swing screen from Josh Allen to Khalil Shakir, and then the Tua pick as well in the comeback attempt while they're down 7.
Almost all the sort of high leverage, key potential turning points in the game went against Miami. There was that. I mean, even after the pick 6, like Buffalo's offense didn't have a good performance. There was a weak holding call that backed them up to 1st and 20. And then Miami's defense collapses again. They pick up 1st and 20. It's like you can't. That's your one opportunity. At that point, you've made a big mistake yourselves. You've given them a huge leg up in the game. 1st and 20 though, and it was a pretty weak holding call. But you have a real opportunity to bring it back, and instead your defense craps itself again. So our friend Josh Dubow from the AP had a tweet that the Dolphins are the first team in the Super Bowl era to allow 30 or more points and get no takeaways in each of the first 3 games to start the season.
Again, history. If you felt like you're watching history, Dolphins fans.
Also, if you felt like Miami's defense was once again terrible. The Bills are the second team, also the 2020 Packers, in the Super Bowl era to score 30 or more points and commit no turnovers in each of the first 3 games to start the season. So this is generally efficient and productive offense against generally terrible defense. And they still kept it close, but ultimately that was too much to overcome.
Yeah, Buffalo taking care of business here, getting the win at home. If you look at the passing charts, it was kind of funny. I joked it was the human resources meme, because you've got what was Tua's? They averaged like 1.4 yards.
Oh, first and second downs. He was averaging 1.9 yards per attempt on first and second down in the game, and then like 8.9 or something. No, higher than that. It was something insane on third and fourth down.
And so Miami was making all of their moving of the ball was on 3rd and 4th down. But Tua and Josh Allen both had a dink and dunk looking passing chart, and I don't know. There was a lot of late checkdowns and swing screens to Devin Achane for the Dolphins offense. And everybody's like, oh, this Tua is just, it's so painful to watch. They don't throw the ball down the field. They're not taking any chances. Meanwhile, Josh Allen had pretty much the same passing chart, same average depth of target, and his swing screen went for a 15-yard touchdown.
And by the way,
I'm not saying Tua played better than Allen. It was the human resources thing, though. It's like, oh, look at Josh Allen. He's so efficient. He's an MVP, and it's Tua. It's like, get him out of here. He doesn't attack down the field.
Those third down numbers maybe should have been even better. Like the bomb to Tyreek Hill that went through his hands, I think he should have caught. That was on 3rd and 11 as well. Like that, Tua's numbers could have been off the charts insane on 3rd and 4th down, which was the only thing keeping them in this game. I mean, they were getting nothing on 1st and 2nd downs. And then on 3rd downs, 3rd and long, typically, we're somehow converting and moving and keeping the chains moving, and that was keeping them in the game.
Looking ahead, both the Bills and the Dolphins will play an 0-3 team next week. So the Bills host the Saints.
Yep.
And they'll be at least 2 touchdown favorites.
You would think.
Against the Saints. We get to see the Dolphins on Monday Night Football next week. They against the Jets.
Okay.
So 0-3 Dolphins, 0-3 Jets. It's the first game of a Monday Night Football doubleheader next week. Something to keep an eye on. The notes in the show here say Miami will be, quote, patient with McDaniel.
What the hell does that mean?
Patient. Like he's not getting fired this week.
Okay. Yeah,
maybe not next week.
We said going into that game, that was a game that had a recipe for people getting fired at the end of it. Miami played better than that. Like more to the point, they played harder than that. I mean, the first thing that you take away from that game is they actually wanted to play. Like very early on, they had a good drive, established that they were going to play in this game, and then they fought hard throughout the game. Okay, they still lost, but they were supposed to lose. They were going up against Buffalo. The point is, though, they clearly haven't quit on Mike McDaniel. Like this was a team that was out there playing hard and trying to win the ball game. That buys you some time. Like you get fired early in the season like this if you're getting waxed and the team looks like they've given up on you. That's not the case yet with Miami.
Last point, just 3 years ago, they were putting 70 on the Broncos, or was that 2 years?
Right?
2 years.
Yeah.
2020.
Like that week, this week, week 3, 2 years ago, they were a 70-point team again, and should have been 73. They passed up the game-winning field goal, or not game-winning, the last field goal, because that would have been rubbing salt in the wounds.
It was the second year of Mike McDaniel's tenure there. It was very promising in 2022. Tua had an injury. They still made the playoffs, had Skylar Thompson start the playoff game, and then started off in 2023. Most yards through 5 games in the Super Bowl era.
Yeah.
And they had the 70-point game in week 3.
Think about both sides of that game equation for a second. Miami had an offense that hung 70 on Denver and should have been 73, which would have been the all-time record in a single game ever. And now, moving the ball is a struggle. Meanwhile, Denver's defense coughed up 70 points, which should have been a game record 73. Now, Denver's defense getting a sack every 3 seconds and is like suffocating is a nightmare to play against.
And within 4 weeks, they were one of the better. They converted to one of the better defenses.
The both sides of that game could not be in more opposed situations than they are now.
That's one of the examples I use to always remind people. Sometimes early season doesn't look like late season, and things move quick in the NFL here. So, anything else on the Bills? I mean, I just thought they.
No, every time we talk about Thursday night, it feels like it was 7 weeks ago.
I know. Probably should just put a bow on it from a Bills perspective. Like they're in line to start 4-0. I think they have a great path to be the number 1 seed. Right, schedule's not terribly difficult. They already got past the Ravens. They have the Chiefs in Week 9. Allen's playing really good ball. They just won the turnover battle for the 24th straight game, whatever it was, because of that Tua interception. So a lot to like about Buffalo. James Cook ran the ball well. We took the over on FanDuel on Thursday, and he got it by the second quarter. And so the Buffalo Bills continue to show that they can win in every style.
I mean, their schedule looks genuinely quite easy.
It does.
Like, not even just this is reasonably beneficial. It's like this is
72 Dolphins are,
like they might
worried.
not. The next team where they won't be, I think, reasonably heavy favorites, depending on how healthy Tampa Bay is later in the season, is like the Eagles after Christmas.
And who knows what happens by then?
Right.
I'm not actually saying they're going undefeated, but Bills are they're in good shape here, sitting at 3-0. We thought the same. You got it? We good there?
Yeah.
We thought this team was in good shape as well. The Green Bay Packers traveling to Cleveland to take on the Browns, but no, 13-10 win for the Browns.
Well, they still haven't trailed for a single second this season. Therefore, things must be going great.
Oh man, there was the Broncos. I think that stat too. The Broncos haven't trailed in the fourth quarter this year.
Yeah,
they're 1-2. The Packers lose. Browns win 13-10. It was 10-0. Packers not only into the fourth quarter, but with about 3 minutes left. 3:57 left in the fourth. The Browns are lining up for 3rd and goal from like the 20. Like nothing about this situation screams. The only thing that was in question was the cover, right? Packers by 10, 9.5, whatever you got it at. That was the only question. So the Browns kick a field goal. Okay, it's 10-3. And then Jordan Love throws an interception on 3rd down. Grant Delpit jumps it. And then you get Quinshon Judkins, 1-yard touchdown to tie it. It's like, all right, Packers are still a better team. They'll get back on track here. They get into field goal range. 43-yard field goal to take the lead with seconds left. Brandon McManus blocked field goal. And not only blocked, but returned just a little bit, picked up right near midfield. Browns get into field goal range, kick the game-winning field goal. They score 13 points in the last 4 minutes to get their first win of the season.
Yeah, I mean, the interception was huge. It was everything. The big problem with this game for Green Bay is they just didn't put enough points on the board to get themselves out of territory where anything weird like that would have changed the game. You know what I mean? I think they did have it under control. They were the better team. Everything was going well, except their offensive line was getting absolutely wrecked by Cleveland's defensive line. And this had been, this is one of the sort of reasons for optimism for Green Bay for the first couple of weeks is, look, they've looked pretty imperious, and the offensive line has dealt with injuries and is shuffled and is not 100% healthy. The logic being that once they get 100% healthy, they can be even better. Well, what we didn't think of was the other side of that coin, which is what if they get more hurt than they currently are, which is already, not healthy. They did. They lost some more players in this game, so suddenly the offensive line is now deep into the bench, and pretty much any team in the NFL, once that's the case, you've got problems. When you're going up against Myles Garrett and friends, that's even more so. So I think both defensive lines were just wrecking shop, and that's why it ended up being an extremely low-scoring game. But Myles Garrett got a ton of pressure. They got hits from Malik Collins, Mason Graham. There's some weird divergence amongst the nerds on the Mason Graham stats. ESPN put a tweet out. Seth Walder said Mason Graham recorded a 43% pass rush win rate against the Packers. The average for a defensive tackle is about 9%. Other sources are not even in the ballpark of that.
I saw Brett Coleman put out there that PFF had him at 15% pass rush win rate.
That's quite a difference.
obviously, given our history, I believe we know how the sausage is made at one of those shops.
Yeah.
That the 15% from PFF, we understand how that is. ESPN has often had numbers that differ from PFF. I haven't seen it this signilant.
That's wild. I mean,
the Boye Mafe game
versus like 15% is crazy different.
The Boye Mafe game from a couple years ago, he had a ridiculous high pass rush win rate for ESPN, and it was low for PFF, whatever it may be. What I've seen from some of the differences is I know ESPN, they're using chips in the shoulder pads. They're using next gen. It is automated. I don't know if there's some human element on top of it, but often it's like the halo around the quarterback if you're in and around the quarterback.
Effectively.
Right. And a lot of times with PFF, if the blocker drives him behind the quarterback, allowing the quarterback to step up, it doesn't count. So I'd have to go back and look. I do know Love was sacked 5 times and only attempted 25 passes.
Whether or not Mason Graham individually had a dominant pass rush win rate game, the Browns' defensive line was destroying Green Bay's offensive line, which got banged up even more in this game, and was deep into the bench. So that was the single biggest thing, I think, that kept this as a relatively low-scoring game. And once it was that low-scoring, the one critical error by Jordan Love, throwing the ball, right to a linebacker or right to a safety rather that he basically didn't see, that was enough to suddenly make this, all of a sudden the game's in play, and then Cleveland gets another game-changing play, and they get the bounce.
Malik Collins has had a really good start to the season for the Browns as well, rushing from the interior. So you have Malik Collins, you do have Mason Graham. Myles Garrett, we rave about him on every single show. We know that. He had a snap in which he just defeated a double team. Luke Musgrave was supposed to double team him along with left tackle Rasheed Walker, and Garrett, Musgrave was laid off the snap, but Garrett just unbelievably gets by both blockers and bends the edge at the same time. Like, unreal every single week from Myles Garrett. And so, to me, the story of this game, it would still be a story had the Packers won this, is the Browns' defense. They're sitting here 3 weeks into the year. They've played Joe Burrow's Bengals. Granted, it was week 1 Joe Burrow's Bengals, but it was Joe Burrow. Lamar Jackson's Ravens, and the Packers and Jordan Love, who were rolling. Absolutely rolling. More defense than offense, but they were cooking on offense as well. Yeah. And the Browns are number 1 in the NFL by a wide margin, allowing just 204 yards per game defensively. Now, last week, some mitigating circumstances. They end up giving up 41 because of short fields, and some of those were defensive and what have you. So the short fields, because of offensive turnovers, that helps the yardage total. But the point is, man, if they had any semblance of an offense right now, the Browns are actually dangerous, and now I know there is a call for old man Flacco to get benched to see what
it's too soon
to see what the rookies can do. One of the rookies.
Generally, offenses can average 5 or 6 yards per play. In this game, both offenses averaged under 4, right? 3.8 and 3.9. So both defenses dominated, both defensive lines. Like, I've seen people saying, Green Bay's defense didn't do anything. It's like Flacco had 100 and something yards. They barely moved the ball until they were set up at the 7-yard line. Like, what are you talking about? Both defensive lines were wreck and chop. Rashawn Gary had multiple plays where he just went right around the tackle, immediate sack. Now, again, Cleveland's offensive line was banged up as well. They were down multiple starters, I think, as well. So it's, again, like we've made this point over and over again. If you have to go into the bench at any point from your offensive line, from your starting 5, you can be in trouble in a game. If you have to do it at more than one spot, you almost certainly are in real trouble. And if you have to do it against a defensive line that can bring legit people to the table, game over almost.
Micah Parsons was just as disruptive. It was good defense from both teams. But the Browns have 3 weeks of not playing great offensively. So I do think Quinshon Judkins, by the way, big part of the comeback, had a couple big runs just to spark the offense on the initial field goal drive, the touchdown drive. Of course, he gets the final the touchdown there to tie it up. But that was a short field after the interception. But Judkins was a big part of sparking the Browns.
Poor Dylan Sampson, by the way. Like, he got himself like a 2-week or one basically. He had a miniature 1-week opportunity to show that he belonged in the offense, and then Judkins is back. Take your seat on the bench.
You're out of there. So from a Browns perspective, defense looks legit. Garrett's must-see TV every single week. The defensive line has been fierce, and we'll see if they can put some offense together. But
Yeah.
they've been competitive, even though they got smoked in week 2. But that was some quirky stuff. And you're playing the Ravens, but the defense is keeping them in it. How concerned are you for the Packers as a team that clearly looked like the best team in the league through 2 weeks? And we always joke, let's not get ahead of ourselves. But this does look legit. This does look real. They were very good through 2 weeks. And then you lay an egg here against the Browns in a game that you should win as 10-point favorites.
Look, if they need their offensive line healthy. The Packers are better insulated than most teams to have to go to the bench and put in backups, et cetera. But like Zach Tom was the guy that played 1 snap or whatever it is and then went down. Zach Tom is arguably their best offensive lineman. You get him out of the lineup, you go back into the bench, you're against Myles Garrett and friends, you're in trouble. So like if the offensive line remains a troop of backups for the entire season, then you're back in maybe Green Bay's capped in how good they can be territory. If they get healthy, though, I think the first 2 weeks is not a complete fabrication. I think they can play at that level, just not with a backup offensive line.
It's funny because I feel like the Packers' offensive line has outplayed their name value over the last few years, right? Like Rasheed Walker, former 7th rounder, he's become a dependable left tackle. They paid a lot of money for Aaron Banks in free agency last year, who's never been a great guard. Jordan Morgan trying to find his way as a former first-round pick who's been flipping between guard and tackle, and he's the guy who came in for Zach Tom. I felt like they played more to their name value in this game instead of playing above where they usually are. So I think it's a key point that you make there. The defense for the Packers was very much the same, but the offensive line, poor. And then, again, Jordan Love, you got to take better care of the ball. He got away with a couple bad decisions in week 1 that didn't matter, didn't come back to bite. A negated pick 6 by Brian Branch, a dropped interception. So you go back to those decisions didn't matter in week 1. Well, in this one, Grant Delpit made the play, and that was the thing that let the Browns back into this game.
Yeah, I would say most teams do not have the defensive line that can do to this offensive line what Cleveland was able to do. So I'm not concerned. I think this was definitely a reality check and a signal that even the Packers, with their ability to plug in whatever offensive lineman and be okay, cannot withstand that kind of injury blow to the offensive line if you're going up against a team like Cleveland. I think, it's a blow. I'm not massively concerned by it, though.
There's 9 games in the 1 o'clock window. We're going to go through all of them. Of the 9...
By the way, Insider Nate is in the chat. Apparently he's going to be in Cincinnati this morning and is offering to bring donuts if you want a live studio guest. Now, he said jelly donuts, and I'm not a jelly donut kind of guy, so
I didn't see that note. I
was in until then.
Also don't love jelly donuts.
Got to know your audience.
Yeah, if we had, would we have to give him the code on the door? You leave him at the door like a DoorDash?
No, I think he'd want to be in, rather than just, hey, yes, feel free to drop us by things and now leave.
You and I have made a few different trips to the local donut shops around town.
Mm-hmm.
We've done that through the years. I'm rarely one to turn down donuts.
True. Yeah.
So I'll take anything but jelly. You get chocolate, glazed, sprinkles, the maple bacon. If you're going to Holtman's, who didn't want to sponsor us.
They closed, I think. That shows them.
That one, downtown.
If you'd sponsored us, maybe you'd still be in business.
Ironically, maybe we were their business.
Yeah.
Once we stopped having to work at the office. Leave them at the door. Leave them at the door.
Anyway.
So you kind of got me excited, though, that we were getting donuts for this 3-hour
show.
No,
it was kind of, I was joking.
Oh, I was ready. I was ready to drop the address right in the chat here for YouTube. Come on down. Look, the sun's coming up. You can see the light.
The lighting just improving as the show goes on. It's
By the way, have I official? We're moving on to the next game through the 1 o'clock window. If we give me the solo Cam. I haven't given an official shout out to the San Francisco Giants. Have we given an official? This is my jersey here.
Yeah, it is.
That is my jersey. I was number 98.
98
as a big leaguer.
Does that work the way it does
for 2 days?
Like Premier League soccer, where the more ridiculous your number,
yes,
young people, right, they come into we're at 84, and then once they've established themselves as like a first-team regular, then they can change to a real number? Is that the way it works for baseball?
That is absolutely how it happened.
So 98 indicates
I was called up for 2 major league games, and they gave me a jersey off the rack with no name on it, so this is kind of fake. With no name on it, and I was number 98 for those 2 games. But luckily, I've still got contacts over there. I said, hey, if you guys could get me a 98 jersey with my name on it for the studio, would really appreciate it. So shout out to the San Francisco Giants for coming through for me.
Shout out to the Giants. And presumably there's a hat following at some point.
Yeah, I'm supposed to get a hat. I mean, got my mom and dad looking for the hat back at the house, or I'll have to order one. But anyway, finally, shout out. I didn't really make it to the bigs, Caleb. I sat in the bullpen for 2 spring training games and did not pitch. But I was on the same team as Randy Johnson that year.
Is that a tech? Did you technically make it to the big? Does that count?
Oh no, there's
or do you have
zero.
To actually be out on the field.
There's 0 record of this.
Okay,
0 record except my memory.
So sitting in that doesn't qualify.
Kelly can confirm. There's a picture of me sitting in the bullpen. That's the extent of it.
Right, but technically, no.
All right, let's move on. 1 o'clock games. There's 9 games in the window. We're going to go through all of them. Los Angeles Rams and Philadelphia Eagles. The Eagles get the win to move to 3-0. What a wild back-and-forth game this was in one of the games that had the blocked kick. 33-26.
Multiple block kicks.
Yes, multiple block kicks.
Did Jordan Davis get both of them?
No, Jalen Carter got the first one, the 2 defensive tackles there. Jordan Davis doing some great things for the Eagles, but the Eagles get the win 33-26. From a game flow perspective, Matthew Stafford intercepted almost immediately by Zach Bond. Eagles get up 7-0, and then the Rams score the next 26 points.
Yeah.
It was 19-7 at the half. They were up 26-7. The Eagles had 17 passing yards at the half. A.J. Brown didn't have a catch. And for the few little, criticisms that the Eagles had through 2 weeks, they're playing this slow, run heavy, level of, this offense. Jalen Hurts isn't throwing the ball down the field. He's got the shortest average depth of target through 2 weeks. It was like, all right, Eagles, you want to play that type of game? It's coming back to bite you now. Good luck coming back into this game with your pass game. And they did it.
Yeah.
And all the way back for the 33-26 win. We'll go through the specifics here in a minute, but what were your initial thoughts here?
Well, we said this going into the game that, all this talk about the Eagles passing attack and, is it too rudimentary and is it struggling? None of it matters if you can't stop the run because they'll just destroy you and keep the ball and grind you to dust. The Rams did. They stopped the run, and Eagles had no answer, at least for the first half. The NFL had this graphic of, Jalen Hurts is now 17-0 in his last 17 starts, including the Super Bowl and blah, blah, blah. It's like, well, 17-0 was also his passing stat line at the half. Like, they got nothing going in the first half. They got absolutely destroyed by this Rams team. And then it did change in the second half. They went a bit more YOLO with the pass game. They just put the ball in the air, and they relied on their playmakers. Like, ultimately, the Eagles still do have some pretty special athletes, some pretty special playmakers. Devontae Smith, got the touchdown late on, but A.J. Brown in particular is the guy that the Rams do not have any body type that can go up against A.J. Brown one-on-one, right? Most teams don't. The guy's huge. He's, it's 6'2", 225, something like that. That's a big body at wide receiver. There aren't that many people that have a corner who can even hope to go physically one-on-one with them. And the Rams specifically are very much at the other end of the scale. They have undersized, lightweight corners, one of whom, in Emmanuel Forbes, we saw as a rookie when he was matched up one-on-one with A.J. Brown basically throughout the game with Washington, cannot do that, has not a prayer. And there was one play in particular, they ran a comeback or a hitch or something outside. A.J. Brown catches it and then just runs through the tackle of Emmanuel Forbes. They couldn't stop him. So, Philadelphia, I think, just decided, let's just give these guys a chance.
Game flow-wise, just to go back through it, again, the Eagles get up 7-0. One of the stories for me of the season, I feel like this is like a Wednesday deep dive that's always interesting to me and people don't care about, but yardage being down around the NFL, I think there's reasons for it. It is the lowest yards per game for offenses since 2005. I really think it's partly kickoff, but partly teams are just converting on fourth down or not converting on fourth down near midfield, and there's fewer yards to get. But the Eagles, when you're watching games, Sam, are you noticing how often teams are just going for it? Not on 4th and 1. 4th and 1's almost an auto go from your own 35 to 40 now. It's almost automatic. There's not a lot of 4th and 1 punts. But I'm talking 4th and 2 to 4. You're seeing a lot of those around midfield. So the Eagles convert an early 4th and 2 with Jalen Hurts on the run, and then they score to get up 7-0, and then the Rams just come back. Devontae Adams with a long touchdown, But I think if you're a Rams fan and you look at missed opportunities, Stafford missed a couple throws where they had to settle for field goals in the red zone. That's why it was 19-7. It was 4 straight field goals after that. They did have a blocked field goal in there. Early second half, Jared Verse with a strip sack. Matt Pryor had to fill in for Lane Johnson at right tackle. They had to shuffle the offensive line throughout the game, so Lane Johnson got hurt.
That's a big blow.
So that's from an Eagles perspective, almost more impressive. Like the impact of one player we know is huge, especially on the offensive line. If you have somebody that just locks down the right side as Lane Johnson does, the fact that the Eagles were able to throw their way back into this game without Lane Johnson was also impressive. And then they just start to sneak back at it. By the way, the Devontae 44-yard touchdown. Remember the Amari Cooper offensive pass interference that was called a couple of years ago? That was just like a late armbar type of move. I think Devontae pulled one of those. And then A.J. Brown for his touchdown kind of pushed off and did the same thing. The refs were letting him go. I think there was 2 offensive pass interference potential calls there on touchdowns. But A.J. Brown in the pass game took over in the second half. He had 6 catches for 108 and a touchdown all in the second half for the Eagles.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it felt like a game. I mentioned this to you yesterday. Like you had that thing at the Titans, when the dudes would just take over, Derrick Henry and A.J. Brown, and the guys that are better athletes than you have would just dominate. That's kind of what happened for the Eagles. Like the first big play, I think, was that heave to Dallas Goedert, who's kind of in the category as well, tends to get forgotten about. But they just put the ball in the air and said, let's go let the playmakers make plays, and the playmakers did make plays.
So this game gets the Eagles get to 26-21. They drive down, score another touchdown to take the lead 27-26, fail on the 2-point conversion, and then when the Rams finally have a game-winning drive opportunity, 2-minute drive, they have only 1 timeout. They still get into field goal range. By the way, the 1 timeout, that is a consistent Sean McVay issue, is that they're using second-half timeouts for operation or whatever it might be and not having enough timeouts at the end. That is year after year. Sean McVay's been fantastic. If there's a weakness, if there's a complaint, it's some timeout usage in the second half. But the Rams get in position for a game-winning field goal, and then it gets blocked by Jordan Davis. And not only blocked by Jordan Davis, he returns it, has the fastest next-gen speed ever recorded by a 300-pounder.
For a 300-pounder, this is a guy who was 348 at his combine 40. Now, he's slimmed down since then. I don't know what he weighs right now, but he's a hell of a lot more than 300. I'll say that.
He is.
According to Sam Schwartz, is it Steen or Stein?
I don't know.
Okay. According to Sam Schwartz-Steen, I'm going to say, from Amazon's AWS broadcast stuff, Jordan Davis reached 18.59 miles per hour, which is the fastest speed ever recorded for a 300-plus pounder.
He was trucking.
That's fast. 18 and a half, almost 19 miles per hour for a dude that size is crazy fast.
And if you care about such things, as we do, we pick the games. We pick the games every week. A simple block of the kick would have the Rams cover as underdogs. So Jordan Davis was hauling for the cover if you took the Eagles. As I always say, one man's bad beat is another man's good beat. So
you always say that.
I always do.
Got it.
I've been saying that for years. And so bad beat if you had the Rams like me. By the way, I might opt out of picks for the rest of the season.
Can't opt out of picks. You got to keep going.
I might opt out. I might
that's
quit.
not an option.
I don't do well with losing. Well, Hall, you
think you'd be used to it by now.
Keep your mouth shut. I'm not 300 pounds. Think I could run 18.5?
No.
No, me neither. Tried on my street a couple of years ago. I was at like 14 maybe. I was just sprinting down the sidewalk because we got, the thing. Anyway, Jordan Davis with the block, the return to cover. Eagles to 3-0.
Yeah, I mean, crazy comeback. The second half, game of 2 halves, right? The Eagles posted that meme of, not going to lie, they had us in the first half. They really did. The Rams had this game completely in control. They looked like the better football team. And this was like the last time they played them, they gave them the best game of anybody in the playoffs. This time it looked like they were just going to straight beat them. And then Philadelphia did turn it loose in the second half, executed the comeback, sealed it with the blocked kick and return for a touchdown. Really impressive. Losing Lane Johnson was a massive blow. Jared Verse was a beast for the Rams. The good news is it sounds like Lane Johnson was just a stinger. This is not going to be a thing that keeps him out of the lineup long term. That's huge for Philadelphia. It's the best offensive line in the NFL when the starting five are intact. Lane Johnson's arguably the best right tackle in the NFL. If you listen to, O-line Twitter people, he's comfortably the best right tackle in the NFL.
Comfortably.
Either way, losing a guy that good is a huge blow to an offense. So if he's only out for this game and back next week, that's huge.
From both ends here, though, I mentioned on the instant reaction show last night, I think the Rams showing once again they can hang with the Eagles. It's the third straight loss in 2 years, of course. So there's no real moral victories there other than, hey, the Rams have played the Eagles extremely close. They had the closest game in the playoffs, as you've cited a few times here. And this game's going to have playoff implications. Has a serious chance to have playoff implications.
Yeah.
And like we were on the way to being like, man, the Rams are are they the best team in the NFC now? Packers blow it. Rams are up big in Philadelphia. They're up 26-7. From a Rams perspective, though, you're going to say, man, that is some serious missed opportunities. And there were some throws in there I think Stafford would want back. He had some open receivers, and there was reasons why they had to settle for field goals. Credit Philadelphia for making those stops, forcing field goals, and keeping it close enough that they could chip back away at it. And then I'll talk about the Eagles in a second here.
I mean, there's no moral victories, but I do think that the Rams are not a team the Eagles will want to play in the playoffs. I mean, the last two games, they have had a chance to win both of them, and I would say should have won one of them. That, if the Eagles roll the rest of the season, if they look like the best team in the NFL, the Rams might be the team that they fear, quote unquote, the most if they go into the playoffs in the NFC. This is definitely a matchup that they are not eager to repeat, I would say. So that part is very real. Jeff Kerr from CBS had a tweet that the Eagles are the first team since 1978
That's good.
to block 2 field goals in the fourth quarter of a game. That's
crazy. So 2 blocked field goals.
They cover the spread, but it did require 2 blocked field goals in the fourth quarter to happen.
2 blocked field goals to win the game. And from a Philadelphia perspective, again, multiple ways to win. They did not have Saquon Barkley. A lot of times we look at previous matchups. We did this on the preview show.
In terms of production.
Yeah, in terms of
him. He was playing. Just didn't do much.
They didn't have the big plays from Saquon Barkley. When we looked back at last year's games, long touchdowns. The Rams mostly bottled Barkley up.
Yeah.
But the Eagles have the passing attack, right? So if you were criticizing the Eagles the first 2 weeks, they're not throwing the ball down the field, and A.J. Brown's not getting his, and A.J. Brown's old and can't do this and that. It's like, no, it's there if they need it. They play the game flow. If they have to go pass heavy, they have A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith and Dallas Goedert, and Hurts can get them the ball. If they can rely on Saquon, they will. If they have to throw the ball to Saquon, they will. They have answers. And then the defense, and in this game, it's special teams and the blocked field goals that help the Eagles win this game.
That's another reason, though, that Philadelphia, again, is not going to be super eager, I think, to repeat this matchup if they have a choice in the matter. I mean, second game in a row, the Rams have done a pretty good job of bottling up Saquon Barkley and at least forcing them to something else. Now that he gets plays every now and again because he's
not the second straight game for the Rams. He got 200 last year.
Yeah, but it was one of those ones where they
those 2 big.
Yeah, they slowed him down for that was one of those games where the Eagles did this a lot to teams last year, where they've gotten hold of him for a long period of time, and then late in the game, there's a couple of monster runs that sort of ease the score away and make it further away than it was otherwise. But I think the Rams have shown that they are capable of bottling up Saquon in a way most teams aren't.
One more thing on Jordan Davis. Everybody's talking about the block kick and the return, which is great. As a prospect, fascinating player, worried about snap count. Last 2 games, he's played a ton of snaps. He had a huge blowing up a play on 4th and 1 in the run game. He had a hustle sack on Stafford. I'm usually anti, the cleanup sack, the hustle sack. I think those are a little overrated, but when it's a 340-pound Jordan Davis and he's cutting off Stafford from picking up a first down with speed, that's impressive. And then still had the stamina to finish the game, blocked kick, and then hit the 18.5 miles an hour on the finish. Jordan Davis doing some good things here for the Eagles, and maybe playing the best football of his career, I would say.
Yeah, absolutely. There was a play in there as well where he just wrecked. They had a backup right guard in there, and they just destroyed the dude. Like Jordan Davis.
He's got way more of the just game-wrecking plays than I think I've seen him throughout his career, through 3 weeks here.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Got no more use for that game. Let's go Indianapolis Colts, Tennessee Titans. The Colts move to 3-0, 41-20 over the Titans. Daniel Jones, another very nice, efficient game. It all started, though, with the defense. Cam Ward throws a pick six. Kenny Moore. Cam Ward and Michael Penix Jr., I think, threw the same pick six in this game. The inexperienced late to the flat.
And lofted. It was late and sort of a lot of air under it. Those generally don't work well.
Yeah, not great. And so that kicked things off. The Titans hung tough. I think they had some opportunities. But Colts are just a much better team right now, 3-0, and they're rolling right now, Sam.
Yeah, they are. This was interesting because the analysis coming out of this game was a lot about how Tennessee didn't really feel like they wanted it. It was more of the feelsy stuff that you get with some other bad teams that stink, the Dolphins type of stuff, right? I think it was Michael Pittman was talking about how you could tell right away they weren't interested in this game, And the way sort of official websites, team websites that cover the team, you're generally not going to get too negative an opinion from the team official website. They have a bias, right? They know where their checks are coming from. The Tennessee Titans, however, Jim Wyatt, writing for TennesseeTitans.com, summed it up like this. I think it's worth reading just because it's kind of funny. If you're looking for someone to rip the head coach or to question everything that's wrong with this 0-3 football team, then the team website isn't the place you're going to find it. But I was sitting in my press box seat in the 50-yard line for Sunday's game. So I plainly saw what happened at the end of the first half. And I'd be lying if I said it was anything but a mess. The Titans, down 17-6 at the time, seemed content with going into halftime with a long field goal attempt, but they botched that by being indecisive, which ultimately resulted in a timeout, a delay of game, and then a missed field goal. If I'm doing a 6 things that stood out from the game, it would be irresponsible not to mention the sequence. When the team website is kind of ripping the team for that kind of stuff, it's not going well.
So here was that sequence. There's 47 seconds left. They're at the 40 or the 39, whatever. Indy calls a timeout, and then the Titans call a timeout. They line up to kick the field goal on fourth and 1. By the way, it was 4th and 1 with 42 seconds left, and you're the underdog against an explosive Colts offense here, right? We've seen how the Colts are.
MVP, Danny Dimes.
Yeah, you got the MVP on the other side. It's 4th and 1 on the 39-yard line. So you call a timeout. 2 timeouts are taken from each team. Get a delay of game coming out of the timeout while lining up for the field goal. Then it's 4th and 6 from the Indy 44. You got 2 choices. You could that would be a surrender punt.
Yeah.
Or you could just go for it on 4th and 6. Be like, what do we have to lose right now? What do we have to lose? They line up for the 62-yarder. That gets blocked. And then the Colts get the ball back and end up they get a field goal just before the half to go from 17-6 to 20-6. So in 3 weeks here, we have Brian Callahan maybe struggling with a rule in week 1.
Not knowing a rule. Yeah.
Not knowing a rule. We have this.
Pretty obvious rule at that.
The field goal issues. I'll just say, and I saw the stat out there. In a 2-year sample, Brian Callahan now has the lowest winning percentage in NFL history.
Really?
For whatever that's worth. I mean, they haven't won a lot of games in the last 2 years.
Sure.
And so in a 1 year and 3 week sample, that's where we're at.
There's a lot of things that are not inspiring tremendous confidence about this Callahan-led offense.
So 2 things are true here. If we're just going to talk about the Titans for a half minute here, they are one of the least talented teams in the NFL that has the number 1 overall pick at quarterback in Cam Ward, and you're hoping to just see some life from that offense, see some life from the young players in the draft picks from a new GM, and hope you have something to build on for next year. I think that was the expectations for the Titans and Titans fans this year. But what you also have is Mike Bergonzi's in his first year as GM, and you've got this slightly restructured front office. And anytime you have the GM and the head coach on, they came in at different times. And that's what you have. Brian Callahan came in last year. Mike Bergonzi comes in this year. It's a question. It's a question. And we've seen a lot of quarterbacks have 1 year of a head coach. They just have them for 1 year, and then by year 2, much like Caleb Williams is doing right now, just like Drake May is doing right now, you're adjusting to a new head coach in year 2. So I think it's it's probably watch time for Tennessee. Not that the record should necessarily be better. I don't think anybody's expecting Callahan to go like 8-9 or 9-8 with the Titans this year with this team. But, if that's what you're getting, there's going to be questions.
You need to be at least showing, that the operational stuff is sound. Like, it's one thing to be not good, but you're at least confident that they're doing all the things they can do to try and win these games. But in the first few weeks, when you have a botch sequence at the end of the half like that, and you have a coach didn't know a rule early in this, like, these are not, you can't add things like that to what is already a rough-looking resume in terms of wins, losses. That's difficult to defend.
Anything else from the Titans' perspective here? I thought it's weird. I mean, Cam Ward was sacked 4 more times. I think he's still probably leading the league in time sacked. There was a couple times I think the right side backup right tackle let him down. Overall, they were probably a little bit better, but there was a few plays that are just dead at the start. And another play where Cam Ward, I worry about the consistency of his dropbacks. There was another one where he drifted, slipped getting up, and got sacked. Just got to manipulate the pocket better. And then the late to the flat, man, that was a Levis too. Late to the flat.
Sure. I mean, it's not an uncommon mistake, but the problem was less. I mean, it was late and to the flat, but it was also how much loft was under it as well. Like, if that ball needs to get fired to the guy in the flat. It can't be, there's some time under this as well. I mean, Kenny Moore was reading that the entire way, and it was just dead on arrival. They did force the Colts to punt for the first time this season.
They did. Huge.
Big win. This is the longest streak in NFL history, apparently, to start a season. 9 minutes to go in the second quarter. It was 20 drives this season before the Colts had to punt, which is the longest run in NFL history to open a year.
It's been an impressive start, man. There was a key play in the first half. Again, it was 41-20. I think the Colts look like a much better team so far this year. But Daniel Jones, I think for a lot of the first couple weeks, it's like, all right, he's playing within the system, and there's a couple nice plays in there, but he's playing within the system, finding open guys, spreading the ball around all these playmakers. But there's a key 3rd and 7. There's quick pressure. Daniel Jones escapes, scrambles for a first down. That ended up setting up. I think once a week they're going to drop the Tyler Warren tight end screen. This time it went for 17. Like, once a week he's going to get the screen pass. But that set up the first Jonathan Taylor touchdown out of 3, or one of the 3, 1-yarder in there. Those little plays, and then Daniel Jones hitting Michael Pittman Jr. later for a 20-yard touchdown over the middle, hit Alec Pierce for 42 yards, so you've got your weekly, here's Pierce for a 35 to 60-yarder down the field, hit him for 42. I mean, Jones is doing, in this one, I thought he made some really nice plays, and at key times to just make sure that they, at one point it was like, make sure you stay up 3 scores, but Jones is just playing really good football. But I thought that scramble on 3rd and 7 was a key. Like when you're the favorite, not letting the underdog Titans have any life. I thought that was a huge play. Yeah,
I mean, Daniel Jones generally has only had to execute the offense so far this season. But there was a play where the Titans did have him under quick pressure, and he did the whole sort of Mahomes dancing around in the pocket and then suddenly turns it into a big scramble. It's like, look, if he's going to make those plays on top of that, then this is going to be a very, very difficult offense to stop because they've got weapons everywhere. Okay, Alec Pierce gets himself concussed, I think, in that deep shot as well. So that's presumably he's going to be out a week. But, Jonathan Taylor went over 100 again. This is a very difficult offense to contain. I mean, again, I think the defense is going to be the less good of the two sides, but the offense is legit.
What a run by Jonathan Taylor. The 46-yard run, late third quarter, weaving through the defense. Would he break 4 or 5 tackles on the way to the end zone? He looks great. He's leading the league with 338 rushing yards, 5.6 per carry. It's the best Jonathan Taylor's looked in a while. One other play in my theme of the year. Colts are up 4th and 1. They have 4th and 1 on their own 47. They're up 27-13, and they go for it and convert. And so, yeah, they haven't punted a ton, and that's part of it, right? It's the aggressiveness. It's not like teams haven't gotten them to 4th down. Could you imagine if they get stopped there?
Right.
You're the only way the Titans can get back into this game, the way their offense is playing, is a short field. And so the theoretical risk of going for it on 4th and 1, if you don't get it, you're giving the Titans a short field. If they score, they're within a touchdown, right? If they could score a touchdown there on a short field. But the Colts go for it. And again, I come back to there's just a lot less let's punt and play defense and give the other team a full field. Like the aggressiveness across the league, I think, is changing games. And then you go back and look at these games and you say, if you can handle end-of-half situations, if you can handle fourth downs, it's almost more than turnovers. Like turnovers are huge. We'll talk about that in a couple games. But it's as big converting your fourths or making a big fourth down stop. Like that is what's changing games right now in today's NFL as much as turnovers. But the Colts got it, and my point is teams are more aggressive in areas that they would never do probably 8 to 10 years ago.
Yeah, and those are, number one, it's generally the sort of sound analytical option that maximizes your win percentage, but it also is putting on the table a bunch of high-leverage plays for in any given game that weren't there before.
All right, the next game at least, turnovers were huge. We'll talk about it in a second. FanDuel's, though. FanDuel, getting you ready for the NFL season with an offer you don't want to miss. New customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right, you pick a bet $5, and if it wins, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use all across the app. You can build parlays, bet player props, ride the live lines, whatever your style. FanDuel has you covered. The NFL season is here. The only question is, are you ready to play? Visit FanDuel.com/CTM to download the FanDuel app today and get started. That's FanDuel.com/CTM. Must be 21 plus and present in select states for Kansas, in affiliation with Kansas Star Casino, and 18 plus and present in D.C., Kentucky, or Wyoming. First online real money wager, only $5 first deposit required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets, which expire 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit fanduel.com/RG. Call 1-888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/chat in Connecticut or visit mdgamblinghelp.org in Maryland. Hope is here. Visit gamblinghelplinema.org or call 800-327-5050 for 24/7 support in Massachusetts or call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY in New York. The next game was all about turnovers. Minnesota Vikings, 100. Yeah. No, what'd they finish with? 48. 48-10 over the Cincinnati Bengals. The Isaiah Rodgers game. One of the best defensive output performances you will ever see in the NFL. Carson Wentz got the start. I thought he looked pretty good overall. But the story was what Minnesota did defensively, particularly Isaiah Rodgers, if you want to go through all of that, Sam.
Yeah, I mean, the game spiraled out of control pretty quickly. Wentz was efficient, first drive, touchdown. Everything's kind of looking good at that point, but then it starts to go south hard for Cincinnati. Browning gets a tip ball, pick six. Isaiah Rodgers returns it down the sideline, 14-0. Then it goes crazy. I mean, Isaiah Rodgers has a peanut punch, scoop and score. So that's 2 defensive touchdowns in the first half. He then forces another fumble. The Vikings defense later had another forced fumble. Redmond, I think, this time got it. They get a 62-yard attempt field goal just before the half as well. When guys are kicking from the logo in midfield, it's pretty good, pretty big kick. So the 34-3 at halftime. Game's dead and buried. It's over. The Vikings defense, the turnovers in this game were just absolutely nuts.
Is that the third straight week the Vikings got in position for end-of-half field goal? I think they did against the Bears. I think they did last week as well.
Entirely possible.
Against the Falcons.
But this was one of those games where the volume of turnovers from one side just got absolutely insane. And not just turnovers, but every time it was a turnover, almost Minnesota housed the turnover and put points on the board. So whatever about what this is going to look like before that, Jake Browning's not the guy that's going to lead a 30-point-plus comeback at any stage. You know what I mean? Kirk Cousins, you could imagine a world like Indianapolis, say, where that happens. Cousins just goes, what the hell, cuts it loose, and you get a crazy comeback. I don't think Jake Browning's ever achieving that.
I mean, he's going to cut it loose, but I don't know if it's going to work.
Well, yeah, you're going to cut it loose, and some of those are going to go to the defense.
Everything Isaiah Rodgers did was in the second quarter, right? Maybe the first half at least. The pick six.
So he has a pick six, a forced fumble recovery six, another forced fumble, a pass breakup, and possibly other plays in there as well. Ridiculous.
Was there I was trying to read my notes and make sure. So there was the 2 forced fumbles. The first one was Noah Fant. And then he has one on Jamar Chase.
Yeah.
Which was huge. Well, they were both big because the Bengals were driving. It was 17-3. Mm-hmm. Bengals are driving, and he's forcing a fumble. I mean, that was that was absolutely the difference in the game. Then, Jalen Redmond forces a fumble right before the half to set up that Vikings 62-yarder to make it 34-3, and it was all done.
Yeah.
Jordan Mason ran pretty well in the second half. Bengals had no chance after all those mishaps. So
no,
from a
I mean,
Bengals
Rodgers on his own.
Mishaps.
Yeah, Rodgers on his own was the difference between this being a beatdown and this being a close game. Even outside of that, it might have gone away from the Bengals as well. But, yeah, I was tweeting – I messaged you after like the second play that he made, and it's like Rodgers is on his way to like a 99.9 PFF grade. I forget who was tweeting it out, but apparently that was his first run grade. It was a 99.9. And, I mean, it's got to be close to that even after review just because of the sheer number of absurd plays he made.
That's got to be one of the best defensive halves of all time.
Yeah, by anybody.
He will win Defensive Player of the Year.
Imagine if he didn't.
I mean,
Defensive Player of the Week.
Somebody
else did. It's a shame nobody got like 2 interceptions just to make the box score funny.
So, honestly, it's tough to glean anything else. Carson Wentz, I thought, had a couple nice throws in there. Good first drive. They got the ball to Josh Oliver for a touchdown. By the way, there was some Minnesota Twitter account before the game. I think it was before the game, I would assume. I think it was before. It said something like breakout game or, statement game or whatever they said for Josh Oliver and Isaiah Rodgers.
Okay.
Yeah. Whatever it was.
I want to see the guy.
Correct.
I think Oliver, they put it up on Red Zone yesterday. Oliver was like plus 1,000 or whatever to get an anytime touchdown. I want to see the guy that called the anytime touchdown for Stoll, the Saints tight end who got one. That was like plus $1 million. Nobody,
yeah.
That would have been a good one to call.
Or Isaiah Rodgers having 2.
Yeah.
So Carson Wentz finishes 14 of 20 for 173 with 2 touchdowns. Hit Josh Oliver and T.J. Hawkinson for the 2 touchdowns, the 2 tight ends. Had a nice little 36-yard pass or 36-yard completion to Justin Jefferson. Hit him over the middle. Jefferson weaved through the defense to help set up a Jordan Mason touchdown in the first half. So I thought Wentz played fine. You just didn't get to see much of him.
The Vikings, we talked about, look, the J.J. McCarthy has not played well. On the other hand, he's been missing, and the Vikings have been missing some pretty important players, most of whom were back in this game, and none of whom was more important than Christian Darrisaw at left tackle. Like, that is the equivalent of the Eagles losing Lane Johnson. The drop-off between Darrisaw and the dudes standing in for Darrisaw is massive. And in this game, Darrisaw had to block Trey Hendrickson for most of the game, so it's never going to be more important than it was here. And I think you saw that in this game. I mean, Trey Hendrickson did not have much of an impact. I think he had like 3 hurries or something throughout the course of the game. If Darrisaw was not in the lineup, Trey Hendrickson might have had 3 sacks, let alone 3 hurries, even in a beatdown of a performance. Andrew Van Ginkel was back. They basically only needed to throw him out there on third downs. So he went out there on third downs, only played like 7 of them or something, had 2 sacks. Dallas Turner, breakout game. Like, one of the things meaning they didn't need to play Andrew Van Ginkel that much is that Dallas Turner had the best game of his career, I think, at this point. So all of the players at the Harrison Smith back in the lineup, all the players that the Vikings were getting back were important players. So, and Isaiah Rodgers went insane to make the score completely ridiculous. So what I'm saying is I don't think this is a great A-B analysis versus J.J. McCarthy, but it's one that's going to stoke the crazy discussion.
J.J. never inspired Isaiah Rodgers to do what he did.
He didn't.
Never. Chase Brown for the Bengals, by the way, 10 carries for 3 yards in this game.
That's not great.
Chase Brown and Ashton Genty are the only 2 running backs in the league right now who are averaging negative yards before contact per rush.
Yeah.
So every single rush, on average, Chase Brown and Ashton Genty are getting contacted in the backfield. And when you watch Genty in particular, you feel that. Like, there's the number of times he's hit like 4 yards in the backfield. It's like, hey, nice run by Ashton Genty. We'll talk about it in a minute. Nice run by Ashton Genty, and then he's just contacted in the back for, -4 to offset the entire average. But Chase Brown having similar struggles, and the Bengals offensive line. We talked about Browning maybe getting rid of the ball quicker, and that's going to help it. Well, they got whooped again for the most part, and didn't matter, right? Browning was not able to offset that, and he's been, the first interception was tipped, or, a little quirky, but, he's been, chucking some into coverage here.
Plus, you've got fumble from Chase Brown, fumble from Samaje Perine, which means it's Taj Brooks season. Feed him the football.
Fumble from Fant. I mean, it was like a greased up football across.
It was crazy.
The
number of. I mean, the sequence of this game, if you were watching the first half, was just utterly ridiculous. And this is. Games do not get to that kind of score at the half without there being absurd turnovers. This is the Colts Vikings game that became the biggest comeback in NFL history was like that as well. Everything went against Minnesota in the first half, and then everything went their way in the second half.
The Vikings now head across the pond, Sam. Head into the motherland this week.
The motherland.
Your motherland.
Which is this week is it's Dublin first.
Yeah,
right?
Remember we were going to go?
No, I know. Didn't work out that
Remember we had inside sources that it was Vikings Steelers and we had to sit on it?
Yeah.
We had to sit on it. Any advice for the Vikings as they head to Dublin?
Any advice?
Yeah. What should they do?
Win the game would be. That's where it starts.
No tourism or anything? No sightseeing?
I don't think you want to get distracted before a big game in Dublin.
Vikings Steelers next week. Is it 9:30 a.m. Eastern?
Yeah,
presumably.
It's London time.
Oh, we got to do those now.
Yeah, it's going to be all Sunday.
Already exhausted, and we got to do that now. All right.
This one at least will have Dublin sights and stuff. There'll be lots of images of people drinking Guinness and keep you entertained.
Quick theory right now. Remember the Honolulu flu?
Yeah.
Last year? Every time the team played the Lions, and then the next week, they were terrible.
Right.
Does Ben Johnson have that power now? In week 1, Vikings played the Bears.
Yeah.
Is it the Bears flu?
Well, so
so
week after
week 2,
a team plays Ben Johnson's team.
So after they play Ben Johnson's team, even though they won, the next week the Vikings looked awful.
They did.
Against the Falcons. And now they're back. They're good. They're okay again.
So what was who had that this week? Who played?
We don't know yet. The Lions tonight.
Oh.
So we only have one game of evidence.
Because the Lions beat down Chicago.
If the Lions lay an egg tonight.
Right. Then it's
against the Ravens.
Then it's unquestionable.
Then clearly you never want to be you just don't want to face Ben Johnson.
Yeah.
Because next week you're going to get smoked. We'll see what happens. See what happens tonight. We got one data point here so far. Let's go.
One data point is notable. 2 data points is just cast iron fact.
It's a streak.
Yeah.
That's a streak. They say 3's a streak. I say no.
Vikings also getting back Jordan Addison next week. So they're getting players back at the right time. I mean, the Pittsburgh wins. Minnesota wins. The Dublin game was a lot more interesting this week than it was a week ago.
Yeah, we'll talk about the Steelers in a minute here and how they pulled off their win. Commanders 41, Raiders 24. Marcus Mariota getting the start for the Commanders and the win. 2-1 Washington. Raiders fall to 1-2, second straight loss for them. There's some big plays in this game. Started with Deebo Samuel right off the bat.
I love putting Deebo back as a kick returner.
Oh, yeah, the new kickoff was built for him, right?
Yeah. He's good at that.
It's a running back skill set.
More teams,
he's the wide receiver with the running back skill set.
More teams should be putting their alpha playmakers back to return kicks because now it is theoretically a much safer play. It's set up for playmakers to make plays. Put them back there. I'm really bummed, honestly, that this they basically finally fixed the kickoff right as Cordero Patterson has just become too old to play football. Right?
Yeah.
That dude, if he had this kickoff in his entire career, that guy would have put up 25 kick return touchdowns in his career.
It's sad. If we could just extend his career a little bit. This game for me was all about the big plays plus Trey Tucker. Jeremy McNichols with a 60-yard touchdown run in there. You had Terry McLaurin with a 56-yard reception. You had Trey Tucker again with a wide-open 61-yard touchdown. You had Luke McCaffrey came back with a 42-yarder. That was all more toward garbage time. But Trey Tucker for the Raiders now leading the league in receiving touchdowns, tied with Rome Odunze with 4. So Trey Tucker, big-time breakout. But second straight week, a little disappointed in the Raiders showing, especially what they did defensively. And second straight year, we've seen the Commanders not necessarily not miss a beat without Jaden Daniels, but pretty close with Marcus Mariota running the show. I thought Mariota did some nice things with his legs, did have a rushing touchdown, and efficient throwing the ball, 15 of 21 for 207, including that 56-yarder to McLaurin.
Yeah, efficient, and they used him in the design run game. We said this before. One of the benefits of having a guy like Mariota as your backup is you don't need to change the offense when he comes in. He can do the same things that Jaden Daniels can do, just not as well, right? So you have this designed run with Mariota. He gets a big gain. Now he then fumbles the football. Tries to do too much, sort of hurdles his way into a tackle in the middle of the field, loses the handle on the ball. That gives the Raiders an opportunity. But generally, Mariota was very good in this game, more than good enough to take advantage of Washington being the better team.
I love going back and looking at the sequences that I think had just a huge impact on the game. Commanders are up 17-10 late in the first half. The Raiders do another one. I'm going to repeat it again. They're on their own 40 and go for it on 4th and 1. So you're in your own territory. You go for it on 4th and 1. The risk is you're given a short field, but the benefit outweighs the risk. Raiders convert it, but then don't do anything with it. They punt with 36 seconds left. And one of your stories early in the season was like, hey, these teams, it doesn't matter how many seconds you have left. You can get into field goal range nowadays and kick a 55 to 65-yarder and put points on the board. And a Malcolm Kuntz face mask and a Marcus Mariota scramble or run were the two things. That's all the Commanders needed, right? So they had 36 seconds. They get a 15-yard face mask, Mariota run, and it sets up a 56-yard field goal just before the half to make it 20-10. I feel like the end of half sequences might be more important than ever, just because you can steal an extra 3 here and there. And I thought that was another huge impact in the game for the Commanders. And then the other big play that I didn't cite earlier, 20-10, third quarter, Jalen Lane with a 90-yard punt return. We had, 2 90-plus yard punt returns yesterday? Your guy Torrey Horton later. Mm-hmm. Jalen Lane with a 90-yarder, the rookie wide receiver out of Virginia Tech. Hint, hint. Mm-hmm. Keep an eye on my Hokies. Jalen Lane with the punt return. So that made it 27-10, and that was when the Commanders started to run away with it.
Yeah, that was definitely a big play. The other thing, so interesting with no, what's his name, Austin Eckler in the Washington backfield, it's like, let's see, do they turn the whole thing over to Bill? No. Number one to begin the game was Chris Rodriguez, I think, was the guy getting the start, quote unquote, for what that's worth.
He had a big run early on. You got to give it to Chris.
Yeah, absolutely. But if you look at the kind of distribution, it's now just a committee backfield. You've got Bill Krosky Merritt in there getting his carries. Rodriguez was leading the team in carries and getting the start. McNichols is in there with the big run. Like they are, and Debo getting, carries as well. They're not just turning it over to Bill as obviously, I think, the most dynamic ball carrier they have. They're like, no, he's a rookie. He still can't do everything. This is going to be a backfield by committee now.
The fact that Jeremy McNichols, I said this all last year, is getting significant. It was only 4 carries, but he had a 60-yarder in there. That he's, in 2025, making an impact. What's he, like a 10-year backup running back? That's just a rare commodity. Just a rare player. How long has he been in the league? It's been a while.
Can't be that long, right?
I keep thinking he was in the very early, like the 2015.
He's only 29 years old.
I know. Dude's ancient.
Yeah.
It's been around forever. Impressive by Washington.
2017 draft. Wow, how many teams has he played?
2017?
Yeah.
That's ancient. That's old. But he's been a backup.
Been on 12 teams.
See? That's what I'm saying. Took Cliff Kingsbury in Washington, unlocked Jeremy McNichols.
2-time second-team All-Mountain West.
Over 200 rushing yards for Washington. I mean, the Raiders' defense looks bad right now.
Yeah.
They look very bad. Offensively, I thought there was no rhythm. Like the final stat line for Geno Smith, 19 of 29 for 289. But he was sacked 5 times. I thought he held the ball a little bit too long a few times. He ended up with 3 touchdowns to Trey Tucker. They were all wide open, or at least 2 of them completely wide open. So it was like a couple coverage busts, maybe helping the stats a little bit. But I think the Raiders' offense is just missing any kind of rhythm. And then going back to that stat before, like Ashton Genty, once again, 17 carries, 63 yards, had a long of 18. So that means a lot of carries to nowhere in there for Ashton Genty, and him and Chase Brown, the 2 running backs, averaging negative yards before contact per rush this season.
Yeah, Trey Tucker led the league by a mile in total EPA from receivers when the ball's thrown their way in this game. Just a monster performance. And honestly, one of the things about the yardage is down this season, wide receivers haven't had, or receivers generally have not had those sort of monster, days that you become accustomed to, 180 yards or whatever. Trey Tucker's one of the first individual performances where okay, yeah, that's a big wide receiver day.
Can't stop Trey Tucker.
Can't stop him. Can only hope to contain him. Meanwhile, Ashton Genty contained at all times almost because there's just no blocking for him. This is worst case scenario really for drafting one of these guys high is You take a guy who was so dynamic, so explosive, so difficult to stop at the college level, and you put him behind an offensive line that's just getting its ass kicked every single game. And what that results in is not only a guy that cannot do, last year's Saquon Barkley, but it's so bad relative to what you want to see that people are debating whether he's even good. Like, that's the problem with this whole situation, is you drafted him so high and put him in a situation that's so bad that 3 weeks into his career, people are like, is he even good? Is he just Trent Richardson again? So Ashton Jeanty looks very good, but has nowhere to go with the ball at the moment.
Yeah. I mean, when it's blocked up a little bit, he looks good, right? Yeah. Cutting, decisiveness, packs a punch at the second level. I wonder, I wonder if I'll have the same complaint about him once the blocking's better at some point in his career. If I have the same complaint about him and Bijan.
But that's the sort of problem with it's not. These things don't just scale. That it's like pressure in quarterbacks, right? It's very difficult to look at a terrible situation and know that what the quarterback is doing is independent of the terrible situation. So Genty's got some plays so far this year where you're like, I don't love that attempt at a cut or that attempt at bouncing it out or whatever. It's like, but so much of that is because he knows there's nowhere to go. Like he's had enough carries so far where he is aware that the intended point of attack is probably not going to be open. So he's running to daylight. He's trying to find a gap, trying to find a space. What you don't know is what happens if you just fix the offensive line and the intended point of attack is now more likely to be open. Will he have better gap discipline, better integrity in terms of the designed play? It's impossible to know that without seeing it.
Anyway, enough on that game.
Sure.
Good job by Washington, moving to 2-1. Jaden Daniels was legitimately day-to-day, and I think most expectations were that he would miss one game.
Brief shout-out to not Dan Campbell, Dan Quinn. Took a shot from his own quarterback, who got kind of shoved into him running off the field. Bloody nose, head popped the back of the turf, popped back up, just carried on. Good old Dan.
We've both been on the sideline when, big NFL football players are getting close. I'm a big guy, but I like to get out of the way.
Yeah.
Early.
You, I think, would survive the impact better than Dan did.
I don't know.
I mean, you must outweigh Mariota by a fair old...
I'm top-heavy,
but clip.
I don't think so. I try to get out of the way. I would probably run like the chain gang's supposed to get out, run out of the way and save yourself. I prefer that strategy.
I feel the concern would be like tight ends. Their ability to get their legs out of the turf is paramount, right? That's the last thing you want to happen is the body through the knees. That's your concern. I would be me. I want to get out of the way because I'm not surviving the impact particularly well, regardless of how high up the torso it comes. If it comes shoulder high, I feel like you're okay. If it's knees is what you want to get out of the way.
Get my knees out of the way. Let's go Carolina Panthers 30, Atlanta Falcons 0.
What?
Yeah.
What?
30-0.
What happened?
Of all the games, was this the most surprising one?
Yes.
Had to be. Panthers 30-0. The Panthers are 1-2. Falcons fall to 1-2. The Panthers, as the nerds would point out, the Panthers now have the best point differential in the NFC South.
Ah.
How about that? The 1-2 Panthers.
There you go.
Not the 3-0 Bucs.
No.
Panthers. 30-0 win. This had some missed field goals for the Falcons early.
Which is like
John Parker Romo.
Kickers are just funny, right? Like Younghoe Koo, it took him like a year and a half to basically play his way off the roster. The man was one of the better kickers in the league and then did the whole thing the kickers do every year, forget how to kick. And you give the guy...
Every year, they just all forget.
You give the guy some time. The better a kicker you've been, the more credit in the bank you build up. Eventually, he went into negative balance, and they were like, all right, it's time. Get rid of him. So they released Younghoe Koo during the week. Parker Romo's first kick looked like... I don't want to make this joke because Tony Romo did it, I think, on the broadcast, and that tells you what an old man joke it is. But, his first kick looked like my driver. It was sliced off into the trees, wide right. It was so far away from the goalposts. It was absurd. And then he did exactly like my golf game, which is the second one, he's like, I got to overcorrect. First one, I was way off to the right. So the second one, he just hit left of the goalposts. It's like they release a kicker because he played his way off the team. And the guy you replaced him with, who looked great last week, was nailing them right through the goalposts. Now it's like he's never seen a kick before.
Funny enough, as I was falling asleep 4 hours ago last night, scrolling social media as one does, good for the brain right before you fall asleep.
Of course.
I saw someone was taking a video of John Parker Romo before the game.
Yeah, dialed in.
He said this kicker has ice water in his veins because he's sitting there. The Panthers cheerleaders were on the field doing their pregame performance. And he is like 3 feet from one of the cheerleaders just on the left hash.
Yeah, I saw that.
And he's just like right next to one of them, and he's just like, boom, nails it like 55-yard or whatever it was. So it was a pretty funny tweet.
It's honestly,
in hindsight now.
It is a silly sort of joke, but honestly, I think it is a lot like a golf swing and a golf game because it is all mental. Like, the mechanics don't change. You just get in your own head. Like, you have one bad mechanical output, you slice your drive 100 yards to the right, and that's now your brain is broken. Because in your head, it's like, I got to fix whatever I did the last time, which probably wouldn't happen again the second time. So you're completely done at that point. That's why, the guys that are legitimate, like 10, 15-year kickers that don't forget how to kick are like gold dust because every one of these guys goes through a period of the yips and it's all done.
In this game, key plays here besides the missed field goals. 4th and 3 on the Atlanta 39. Bryce Young run a little pick/rub route to Tetero and McMillan for 23. That 4th and 3 set up. The eventual 4-yard scramble by Bryce Young. Really good speed to the edge there by Bryce on the 4-yard his touchdown scramble. I didn't think he was gonna get there, and he turned the corner and got into the end zone for the 4-yard touchdown.
You didn't have faith in his scampering ability?
It wasn't a lack of faith. I'm just watching the angles on the TV, and I'm thinking, I didn't think he was Saquon Barkley around the edge, but he was on that play.
He was Saquon Barkley.
And then the Penix interception, again, it was very similar to Cam Ward.
Yeah.
You're very tardy, thrown to the flat, and pass got jumped and pick 6 to make it 17-0 by Smith-Wade. Smith-Wade? How do you pronounce his first name? 11-yard touchdown return there. So that was just a gimme. So 17-0, and then 20-0. And before the half, the Falcons had no timeouts. They just complete a pass. Time runs out on the first half. So just ugly all across the board for the Falcons, who looked very impressive through 2 weeks.
Yeah.
They were plays away. I mean, they were plays away from being an impressive 2-0. Lost to the Bucs late, dominated the Vikings. And that's why this was the most surprising game that we've seen.
I don't know which side of the ball is more shocking to me. Like, Atlanta's offense, okay, J.J. McCarthy might be terrible, right? But Atlanta's offense defense was absolutely murdering the Vikings' offense. And not just because McCarthy was bad, but the exotic looks they were showing them, the pressure they were getting, like, they just destroyed the Vikings. And okay, they lost that game, but like that side of the ball going up against Carolina's offense, which has not been amazing. You would say,
and it wasn't amazing in this game either. You have a pick 6.
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't like the Panthers dominated offensively in this game either. So the Falcons' defense was still decent. The offense is the more shocking part. To let you finish your thought.
Yeah, but they definitely they had significantly better production than you would have thought given the performance that they had against Minnesota. And then the other side of the ball, it's Carolina's defense, which did not look good at all for a long period of time, pitches a literal shutout and puts points on the board. There were, some things that went their way that we sort of suggested might be worth keeping an eye on. Like, for example, multiple veteran defensive linemen were hurt coming into this game, so they were forced to play the rookies, Nick Scorton and Princely Umanyalan, who hadn't really featured yet so far this season. They've been getting a handful of snaps each. Both guys had multiple pressures in this game. Scorton played almost the entire game as opposed to getting a handful of snaps. That dude looks, I was saying yesterday, he looks slim. Like,
is it the number 11?
That's why I was wondering. I was like, is this a combination of a new uniform and wearing number 11? But didn't he wear 11 at Texas A&M as well?
Yeah.
Like at 280 pounds, he wore number 11 and looked fat. Like, so it's not just number 11. But I was wondering, is he genuinely slimmed down?
I hate when the list weight's like 20 to 25 pounds off the real weight.
Scorton is weird because you had this career where at Purdue he was apparently like 265, and that was where he was really productive. Then he goes to Texas A&M, plays at 280 or 285, looks kind of fat and not that great, right? And then he comes out afterwards and says, no, I've slimmed down to 265 or whatever. There was this whole weird thing about what is his weight, why was he ever at this weight? What is he going to play at the next level? He looks more like 265 than he did the 280 Nick Gordon, who was, I think, visibly not as good. And at 265, that guy's got some juice. I mean, he got pressures in this game. He played almost the entire game. We were saying, look, this might be a good thing to be forced to play the young rookies rather than the veterans that have been unproductive through a couple of weeks.
Yeah, we'll see if that ends up paying off for Carolina as they
or if they just immediately revert back to the veterans, which would be a shame.
Because there's a chance, like with Derek Brown healthy and back out there this year versus last year, there's a chance that defensive front is better. We just didn't see it a ton in the first 2 weeks. So impressive win for Carolina. The second, Penix threw another interception late. It was 4th and 8. It was probably going to get jumped for a pick too, but the receiver fell down. But it's also 4th and 8, and you got Mike Jackson jumps it. That gave Carolina a really good field position again there as well. Our friend Zach Robinson taking a lot of heat in all of our chats last night and today, and in the comments and everything. I'm not sure exactly what's wrong with Atlanta's offense. I know, missing their starting right tackle. I think pass protection, like they were okay yesterday. There were times that it's faltered the first 3 weeks here. I think it's been a little bit worse overall at pass pro than it's been in recent years. They've generally been healthy and returned the same line for 3 straight years. And then missing Caleb McGarry to start the season, replacing him with Elijah Wilkinson. I think the guards have had some issues the first couple weeks. And then I thought we would see a more aggressive downfield passing attack from the Falcons, or more effective downfield passing attack. And Kyle Pitts has some moments where he looks really good still, and you're just not getting, Darnell Mooney was dealing with injury, and for whatever reason, they're lacking a little bit of rhythm, struggling in the red zone, and then, missing field goals doesn't help either.
No, it certainly doesn't. And look, once you reach a certain point, this is the game flow thing. When you reach a certain point in the game where the score is out of control and the game script goes out the window and you just got to try and throw the ball and get back in it, it's definitely been – this has not been the performance from this offense or Michael Penix Jr. that we were expecting coming into the season. But it's like I don't think anybody has a particularly good handle from the outside on what is causing these things. I mean, look at the revisionism that's happening at the moment in Houston, right? Bobby Slowick was the fall guy. He was the problem last year. Bobby got fired, and all of a sudden it looks the same, if not worse. And now people yesterday on Twitter, there's a whole bunch of people that are like, I'm sorry, Bobby, all is forgiven. Yeah. Like, you know what I mean? So is this Zach's fault? Is it Michael Penix's fault? Is it the offensive line's fault? Like, we don't know.
I had a lot of optimism for Michael Penix this year for 2 reasons. He looked good down the stretch, and he looked aggressive with a slew of big-time throws. He had a lot of just straight-up misses last year, inaccurate misses. But, I have a blind spot. You miss a few and then come back with some big-time throws. And much like Jameis, you're back in my good graces. And Penix had elements of that to his game last year. We're not seeing the same level of special downfield throws that we saw last year, and it has been inconsistent scattershot accuracy and in decision-making. In this one, of course, with the pick 6. So credit the Panthers, man. If they can get this thing back on track, I thought they really underwhelmed the first 2 weeks. You take it was kind of garbage time against Arizona, it felt like, their comeback in week 2. But the last 6 quarters now, if you start adding those up, Carolina moving in the right direction. And so I'm not saying they were a 30-0 team against Atlanta, but I thought they would be far more competitive than they were the first 2 weeks, and they were back toward that in this game.
Yeah, I mean, they had some good performances individually in this game. This one was so strange from an Atlanta point of view, though. Like, Carolina, I think, played more or less the way they've played previously, and it got way better results this time. There were definitely some upticks in various areas. The defensive line, I think, was a particularly good outcome for them. But from Atlanta's point of view, it's like, what the hell happened in this game?
Mohal's suggesting the year 2 PFF offensive coordinator curse.
Well, we no longer work for PFF, so we can't be tainted by that.
Not us, Bobby and Zach.
No, I know, but I'm just saying there's no longer any negative connotations with us. We're just innocent bystanders.
We don't have a year 2 PFF curse,
hopefully
right? Like,
not.
we're year 2 of the new show. I think we're off to a good start.
Yeah.
Numbers are strong. We've got good audience, good interaction. Membership's been added.
No, there are other people that have still thrived in year 2 after leaving PFF. I mean, look at young Michael Renner, CBS's own.
To the moon.
Right. Austin Gale.
Austin.
Still cooking at the
Still
Ringer and Spotify. Like, there are people outside of the NFL that have left PFF that have gone on to great things in year 2.
But it's just offensive coordinators.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Sure.
I got no more use for this game. It was 30-0. This game wasn't close until it was. Tampa Bay Bucs 29, New York Jets 27. Man, what a wild one. I thought the Aaron Glenn dance was going to become the new meme. Him dancing down the sideline on the blocked kick.
That was not a good. That wasn't a good one for the stereotypes. I mean, that was like if Aaron Glenn had been a goofy-looking white man, that would have been a perfect dance for a celebration. It's not. You don't expect to see somebody like him.
I like seeing.
He's a stereotype breaker. You know,
genuine enthusiasm.
We don't all have great rhythm and dance ability. Look.
He was very excited. I love genuine enthusiasm. Jets had a really nice first drive. They go up 3-0, 11 plays, 51 yards. At some point, look, the Bucs are a better team. They get up 10-6, then 20-6, 23-6. Like they're the better team, right? The Jets have not looked great the first 2 weeks. The offense had a nice week 1, but they've got their backup quarterback. You're expecting the Bucs as a 2-0 team to maybe run away with this. We'll talk about them in a minute. But Tyrod Taylor. Tyrod.
Baker. I love Baker midweek correcting people. He's wrong. Like, Tyrod does not correct people, but I'm going to do it. He was on his behalf.
I still believe it was a big joke, and he's still Tyrod. 23-13 to get back into it, and then it's 26-20 with 3:46 left. The Bucs drive down, so they're up 6. They drive down. They attempt a 43-yard field goal with 2 minutes left in the game.
And what happens on that 43-yard field goal?
The implications here being is the Bucs with a 6-point lead, right? Where they gave the Jets a little bit of hope. They gave a little bit of life to get within 6, right? And this field goal is going to make it 9 with under 2 minutes left, and it's pretty much over. Except Will McDonald blocks it. It gets recovered
by him.
By Will McDonald. In return for a 50-yard touchdown, leading to the Aaron Glenn dance down the sideline. Jets are up 27-26 to take the lead here. Their first lead. But then, of course, what the Bucs do. Their third straight win.
Money Mayfield.
Game-winning field goal. Chase McLaughlin, 36-yard field goal to get the win, 29-27. So the Bucs, they get the win. They escape. It could have been disastrous, but the Bucs have their third straight win in which the game-winning play came in under a minute left in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, 3 straight, 2-minute game-winning drives for Baker Mayfield. We said before he's become money in those game-defining situations, whether it's just before the half or late in the game. Baker Mayfield has become that dude, and he's executing those drives when he needs to. It's weird because I think Bucs were a better team generally, and they should win this game, but they are now getting really, really banged up. And because they're so injured, they are kind of riding their luck with these games. It's amazing how fast the sort of support system has fallen apart for them. Like, they went from this is one of the best offensive lines in the NFL and maybe the deepest receiving room in the NFL, albeit, with Chris Godwin working his way back from injury, et cetera. Like, on paper, heading into the season, those two things both look spectacular. Now, it's like the receiving core is suddenly 2 rookies and Baker's college roommate, and the offensive line is Graham Barton playing at tackle, who's a center in the NFL.
Their year 2 center.
Playing left tackle. Elijah Klein, Luke Haggard, Charlie Heck, who they shuffled the entire offensive line around to avoid putting into the starting lineup, and then had to do it anyway when another player got hurt, and Ben Breederson. Like, the offensive line is now a major, major problem for them. Baker's under pressure a lot throughout the course of the game, and the receiving core is being kind of propped up by the fact that Emeka Egbuka looks fantastic and made a bunch of ridiculous catches in this game. It's great that they're 3-0 and that Baker's found a way of getting it done late in these games. They need to get healthy, though, because this is an unsustainable level of play given the problems.
Tristan Wirfs should be back next week against the Eagles.
Which helps multiple positions.
Yes.
Wirfs comes in, Barton can go back to center. Like, that's 2 spots at least
should help.
That are better.
Mike Evans left injured in this game. And does he have a hamstring? I forget what he missed time with last year, but he missed a few games. But he's dealt with the hamstring a lot.
Somebody, I think, had totted them up throughout his career. It's 7 or 8, I think, at this point.
It's a lot. Emeka Egbuka is so good, by the way. The other thing, I thought Baker made some huge throws in this game. The turnover luck still. He had another fumble that the Bucs recovered. So my mental tally, 4 passes in week 1 that should have been intercepted or could have been. Another one in week 2, 2 fumbles. That's like 7. I don't know if they're official turnover-worthy plays, but by my count from Baker Mayfield, and they have 0 turnovers this year, the Bucs. So that's just one thing in their favor. I know we have some sensitive Bucs fans in the comments, but we've said now you said MVP for Baker Mayfield. So just there you go. 3 straight weeks. It is a narrative award. It is a completely different Baker Mayfield than early in his career. Yeah. He was not a great. That scared me. I thought that was donuts.
Somebody cleaning our door?
He's cleaning our window to our door. It's good. Appreciate it. I could see people more clearly out there.
Yeah.
To get even more distracted. Right. Back to Baker. Stay focused, Baker Mayfield. I thought somebody was breaking in. Got to watch out. Mayfield, when the game is on the line, not only can he make the throws down the field, and Egbuka almost had that one-handed bobble catch.
That was a catch.
Egbuka had 6 for 85, but he had that one-handed, slightly bobbled catch that you thought was
it was a catch.
So close.
He got both feet down.
It was very close
with possession. It should have been a catch.
Mayfield's scrambling ability, like the game last week, where the Texans sent the house and he snuck out of there for a key first down on 4th down to scramble. He had a 33-yarder in this one. I think that was the one that set up did that set up the game winner? I can't remember exactly, but anyway, set up one of the field goal attempts, either the game winner or the one that was blocked. Either way, Baker's scrambling ability in this world where he's working with a makeshift offensive line, that has been outstanding. And so don't diminish the fact that he's thrown to 2 rookies and his college roommate. Like, one of them's Emeka Egbuka, their first-round wide receiver, who's really good. But yeah, Sterling Shepard, always finding a way to get open and make some big plays. I've been really impressed with Baker. Yes, there's been some luck from a turnover perspective, but just so impressed with how when the game is on the line, even when your team just blew it, right? You just blew it with not just a blocked field goal that would have put the game out of reach, but for a touchdown to give the Jets the lead, and you still come back with the game-winning drive.
Look, I really liked Sterling Shepard coming into the NFL, but I'm reasonably convinced at this point that if he was not Baker's college roommate, he would no longer be in the NFL. Baker is keeping him in there employed, and it's working. I mean, he's making some plays, but I honestly think Baker's surviving him in the league at this point. This was another game that had one of those kind of late, not quite into the flat, but like late heave with a ton of air under it to the sideline for Tyrod Taylor. Jamel Dean jumps it down the sideline, houses it, puts up points. That's a huge play in the course of this game, as it turns out, given how it ended. But, yeah, look, I think generally Tampa Bay, they're another team, there's a few of them this year, where they've had amazing results, 3-0, but the underlying kind of performance or overall, like they're riding their luck to be 3-0, and that might be fine as long as they get healthy and that offensive line improves and they can get some guys back at receiver, but they need to get healthy because at the moment, there's a few players that are sort of propping this up.
Tough stretch here for the Bucs. I mean, they make it to 3-0. Impressive job. And look, I said beginning of the season, I feel like they've got the depth, and before all the injuries hit, they have the depth to be up there with the best teams in the NFC. So they'll get tested. Eagles this week, Seahawks, then the 49ers, who are also 3-0 for whatever that's worth, and then the Lions in Detroit. So you do have a tough stretch here for Tampa Bay to test things out a little bit. But yeah, being 3-0 and surviving and having 3 straight wins, that always goes both ways, right? The teams that have relied upon that, the 2020, was it the 22 Viking? Which Vikings team? It was 11-0. 22? 11-0 in one-score games.
Yeah.
Last year's Chiefs, undefeated in one-score games. The Bucs now, 3 straight late wins in one-score games. It goes both ways. Like, you want to win those games. You want to survive them, but sometimes it doesn't bode well for the future, and you never know when the future is going to hit. For the Chiefs, it didn't hit till the Super Bowl. The Vikings, it hit in the playoffs. The Bucs, look, they're 3-0. They're doing and finding ways to win. And from a Jets perspective, still looking for that first win for Aaron Glenn.
Yeah, a bit disappointed by the Jets' sort of inability to pick up Tampa Bay's blitz. Going up against Todd Bowles and the Bucs, they're going to be sending the blitz a lot, and they were repeatedly surprised, particularly by like safety or nickel blitzes. Just the one overload guy coming. They seem to be shocked by that every time it happened, that was a significant part. I mean, the production that Tyrod Taylor had against the blitz was pretty rough. Almost everything was just a sort of panicked heave in the general direction of Garrett Wilson. And that was a big part of, like, Todd Bowles' blitz got home in this game and caused problems.
Yeah, we got caught up in Justin Fields is probably going to run the ball a lot this year for the Jets. And I've said this before, like if any other pass-heavy quarterback, Fields doesn't throw the ball as much as others, any other pass-heavy quarterback had just Garrett Wilson as your number one receiver and question marks beyond that, you'd be saying, hey, the Jets haven't done enough.
Yeah.
And you see that in their pass game at times. An impressive comeback, but the Jamel Dean pick six that you mentioned was huge. Mm-hmm. Absolutely huge. That made it 20-6. That was what made it feel like the Bucs were running away with it. The Jets did a pretty nice job bottling up Bucky Irving. That gave them a chance to get back into it. But look, Bucs are just a better team overall. The right team won this game.
Yeah.
And they were able to survive the blocked kick touchdown to get the win.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else?
Nope.
This one? What do I have next? Quick break to tell you about our friends at Root Insurance. Root Insurance believes that good drivers deserve better rates, so they've created a new kind of car insurance that rewards good drivers in an easy-to-use app. Traditional car insurance companies focus on demographics like age, zip code, occupation, and credit score to price your coverage. When Root offers a rate, your behavior behind the wheel gets more weight than any other single factor. They don't use occupation or education level to negatively affect your rate. So while you drive, Root gathers and analyzes data from your smartphone sensors. After a few weeks, you'll get a car insurance quote based primarily on your driving. Save up to 44% off your initial Root quote after you take the test drive. If you need a tow truck, jump start, or if you lock your keys in your car, Root will cover the help you need to get back on the road when you opt into roadside assistance. The Root app makes it easy to edit your coverage, update your policy, or file a claim in just 3 minutes. You can get started today at Root.com. All right, what do we have next? Jacksonville Jaguars get the win over the Houston Texans, 17-10. This is an ugly one, too.
Yeah.
Jags move to 2-1. Texans fall to 0-3. And
people are getting mad.
People are getting mad.
Whose fault is it?
Me, because I thought Houston was going to be awesome this
year.
Your fault. It is
Got it.
My fault. Jags get the win here, I would say, for the third straight week, or at least 2 out of 3, despite their quarterback. Two different things are true.
That's going to piss people off.
2 things are true.
Nope.
Lawrence had a bad interception at a bad time to allow the Texans back into the game.
And a passer rating of like 55.
Yeah, there was 5 or 6 drops in there. Multiple drops, including my guy Parker Washington, including Brian Thomas Jr. There was a lot of drops in there from the Jags offense.
Parker, so it's like last week they, injury at cornerback, Travis Hunter's forced to play a lot more on defense, so they kind of scale back his use on offense. Suddenly Parker Washington's in there more, and Parker Washington makes some plays.
He was great last week.
Yeah, he was. But it was like they got so excited by that. They're like, you know what? Parker Washington was so good last week. Let's make him the offense. What if the whole offense went through Parker Washington this week?
I don't hate it. I'm a big Parker Washington fan, but
I would still try and run the offense more through Brian Thomas Jr. if it was me than Parker Washington.
BTJ, 2 catches on 6 targets. Still not a high percentage connection there, but 46-yarder. That was huge to flip the field in the second half. It was a very low-scoring game here. And even the Jags' first drive, they had 3rd and 9. It was a Derek Stingley defensive pass interference in the end zone that set up their first touchdown. Bashal Tutin with the 1-yard run, 1-yard score. Jags were up 10-3. They missed a field goal that would have made it 13-3 and a seemingly insurmountable 10-point lead in this game. And then the Trevor Lawrence play, man. It's 3rd and 10. You're in your own territory, and it's a 7-point game in the fourth quarter. And he just throws it right to Jalen Petrie for an interception. Just an awful interception by him after C.J. Stroud had an awful interception that was thrown right to Jordan Lewis. But the Lawrence interception sets up the 50-yard double. Was it even a double move from Nico Collins? It was, but it was wide open. 50-yard touchdown to make it 10-10.
I have no earthly idea what the cornerback was playing on that play. It was like a slight double move, and the corner jumps all over it and is like nowhere, falls over or whatever, trying to recover and get the second part of it. And Nico Collins makes a huge play. Crazy. It was such a close game the whole way, but every time one team or other had an opportunity to do anything significant, they screwed it up. You had the Trevor Lawrence interception, Jordan Lewis with an interception as well when Houston's driving down 7. Like every time one side or other had a chance to steal the game back, they were like, not really interested.
Yeah, the Texans had the multiple opportunities, right? Between the forced fumble.
Like the difference basically is that one Brian Thomas Jr. big play to get into scoring range, right?
Yes.
That was the one time where one side had an opportunity and actually took it, and the rest of the game was both teams trading missed opportunities.
So Trevor Lawrence hits Brian Thomas Jr. on a 46-yarder. That's set up. So we got 152 left in the fourth quarter, and it's a 10-10 game. And then Travis Etienne has a 10-yard touchdown run where I don't remember seeing it confirmed, but the Texans let him score.
Yeah.
Because the Jags could have run out the clock.
By the way, pretty early. I mean,
I think it's the right move, though.
That was like,
because you're at the 10. I mean, that is a chip shot field goal.
But you've got 1:48 on the clock. You have 2 timeouts. Like, that's not a gimme that you're going to.
So if you decide to play defense
yeah,
and hold them to, say, a 27-yard field goal,
right,
you might get the ball back with like a minute.
Yeah.
Right? Maybe a minute left, down 3.
Right.
To go for a game-tying field goal versus having...
Or go for a touchdown. You still have enough time.
Or go for a touchdown.
You still have enough time on the clock to execute a game-winning touchdown drive.
You have 1 minute, no timeouts.
Yes.
Just estimating here. 1 minute, no timeouts in a 3-point game versus, say, a $150 left, 148, whatever, down 7. Needing a touchdown just to tie, just to get to just to overtime.
Touchdown to tie and or the 2-point conversion. I think I'd take the 1 minute.
Again, in today's NFL, where a 55-yard field goal is in play, and you've got the kickoff returns, maybe getting you to the 30 or 35, I might take the 1 minute down 3.
There are times where it's like 100, definitely the right call to give up the touchdown and get the ball back ASAP. This one I think was interesting how. I mean, this would never have happened, a few years ago. Teams would have looked at that and said, what are you talking about? Of course we're going to play defense. Like, that's insane. Now it happened, and it's like, I'm not even sure I'd have done that.
All that said, the Titans had 3rd and 1, and Josh Hines-Allen hits Stroud's arm, ball pops up, game-ending interception there. The Jags pass rush does look impressive. Their defense has played well overall through 3 weeks. They had all those turnovers against Cincinnati last week and still ended up, giving up a lot and gave up the game-winning touchdown. But through 3 weeks, I think they've been pretty impressive, especially the different body types and, Trayvon Walker, Josh Hines-Allen, Eric Armstead, those guys getting after the quarterback. So I think they've been pretty impressive here, and they took advantage of the Texans' offensive line woes, which are
pronounced.
Bad, man.
Yeah.
They're bad.
Yeah,
it's the same stuff. I think I was calling Trayvon Walker being freed up on a stunt. I think there was a stunt where the running back had to try to pick that dude up. It's like it's not gonna work. Texans still have massive issues in pass protection.
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of fitting that it was pressure that got a piece of the ball right at the end, forced an interception. It was even more fitting that it was Josh Hines-Allen coming off the left tackle spot. It's like that was the one good player you had a year ago. You traded him away. You've got a rookie in there right now. And shockingly, that didn't make the offensive line better.
And that includes the backs, the tight end. Like, it includes everybody.
Yeah.
From a pass pro standpoint.
It's all bad,
which is the same issues last year, right?
And this is why people are like, maybe it wasn't all Bobby Slowick.
The other thing we talked about last week, like Nick Caley coming over, even though he went through Sean McVay and the Rams, he's brought the Patriots system, right? And it is completely different. It's not West Coast. I don't know what the terminology is. I assume if they're saying it's a Patriot system, it's the Earhart-Perkins terminology and general structures and everything. And that offense hasn't really had a lot of success around the NFL outside of Tom Brady.
Yeah.
Whereas the Sean McVay and or Kyle Shanahan or anything West Coasty has had a lot of success in all of their various iterations around the NFL. Just an interesting dynamic, I would say.
Yeah, not even – you're right. Literally outside of Tom Brady. I mean, even the sort of one guy that's maintained a kind of a level of, he's a football genius in terms of Josh McDaniels. Outside of Tom Brady, it hasn't
McDaniels
really worked.
not even just bad success, like one of the worst offenses in the league.
But everywhere.
Where he went to the Rams for a year.
So he's now gone to multiple places and been with the Patriots, and none of it has worked without Tom Brady.
I mean, Rams as an offensive coordinator, Broncos as a head coach, and Raiders as a head coach.
Yeah.
Offense was not good anywhere. Like Bill O'Brien's the only one who I think has had some
semblance. And back
semblance.
with the Patriots, it hasn't been good absent Tom Brady.
Right. And Bill O'Brien maybe had a little bit of success, but with Deshaun Watson at his best.
Right.
And that was pretty much it. And that was that wasn't the Brady offense anyway. It was Deshaun Watson doing things a little bit differently. So anyway, just an interesting dynamic there. You weren't getting a McVay guy necessarily.
No. And look, obviously we're biased when it comes to Bobby, and I'm not rewriting history in terms of, I made the point before, it's difficult to know from the outside where the blame lies. It's also difficult to know where the credit lies, right? So the only point I would make is that you fired Bobby and it hasn't gotten better. If anything, it's getting worse. So at a minimum, we should be reassessing where the blame lies, or if you fixed anything by making that move. Right now, Houston's offensive line looks as bad as ever. Again, you traded away the one good player from it a year ago. Meanwhile, this week, I think Laramie Tunsil didn't allow any pressure whatsoever against the Raiders. It seemed unlikely at the time that trading away an all-pro caliber pass blocker was going to make an offensive line better. And yet, everybody in Houston was like, nah, you don't understand. The guy's a cancer. He's a locker room problem. Getting rid of him it's going to make everybody better just by, whatever. And it hasn't. It's a terrible offensive line. It still looks like it's never encountered a pressure game or a creeper or a stunt before in its life. And it's terrible. And C.J. Stroud might be a very good quarterback, but he's drowning behind an offensive line that's not capable of protecting him for most of the game.
Yeah, we're not seeing the best from Stroud. I mean, he's to blame for certain things as well. I'm a little disappointed. I thought the receivers would be a little bit better with Houston, but it's all connected, man. It's all connected when you've got such little, help from your pass protection every single week. And then, the Jags, I would say, you're kicking yourself a little bit with how Cincinnati game ended last week. You're very close to being 3-0, and that's the nature of the league, right? You're talking about plays here and there, difference between 1-2 and 3-0. Talk to the Broncos, unfortunately, for their fans. Jags are very close to being 3-0, going to San Francisco to face the 3-0 49ers, who are very close to being 1-2, right? I mean, you just flip a few plays for both teams. And Jacksonville has done it with, I would say, less than stellar play from Trevor Lawrence overall.
Yeah.
And I would spin that into a positive and say I've seen him play much better football. And as much as I thought he was going to hit the ground running with Liam Cohen's offense, haven't necessarily seen that, but I think that's still in the cards at some point, that they could find their rhythm and the Jags become even more dangerous on offense. And I love the way their defense is playing. I love what they can throw at opposing teams with their variety of pass rushers and create some havoc. And I think the Jags, sitting here at 2-1, should be optimistic for the future now, coming off this win.
Yeah, I mean, two different ways of looking at it. Number one, they're winning games and playing reasonably okay right now in multiple areas with a new head coach, a new system, and the most important player on the team in Trevor Lawrence not playing particularly well. So you can say, well, if he ever does start playing particularly well, suddenly the Jags become a very good football team. Or you can say, is Trevor Lawrence going to end up being the limiting factor to this team because they're paying a quarterback $55 million a year, and right now he's not playing anywhere near at that level? I don't know what the answer to that is yet, but that's the kind of analysis for Jacksonville through 3 weeks. Former colleague, another person for whom the 2-year post-PFF curse does not apply, Mike Clay, ESPN's own, has a Travis Hunter update through 3 weeks. Week 1, 8 offensive targets, played only 10% of defensive snaps. Week 2, once there was an injury in the secondary, 6 offensive targets, played 60% of defensive snaps. And then week 3, just 2 offensive targets, played 69% of defensive snaps.
Kind of all over the place. He had the best catch and run, the best offensive play of the year, right, for him?
Yeah,
24,
his best play, yeah.
It was looked dynamic after the catch, and we'll see how it continues to evolve. Got no more use for that game? Pittsburgh Steelers 21, New England Patriots 14. Steelers move to 2-1. Patriots fall to 1-2. It was Aaron Rodgers hitting Calvin Austin for a game-winning touchdown. We had forgotten about the Calvin Austin versus Marcus Jones matchup. Remember that scouting in college?
Yeah, the featherweight battle.
You called that watching. It was like watching it on fast forward.
It was like watching, if you ever watch like the 125, I forget what that division is, but 125 pounders in the UFC, where it's like they're all on caffeine to the million. They're just so fast. Like you cannot fathom how fast a 125 pound human can move relative to normal sized people. And it's absurd. It's like the tape is sped up, right? I had a clip of it was those two, running a route or whatever, just the mirroring of each other, and then mashed up against a 125-pound flyweight, I think it's flyweight, matchup in the UFC. Like it was a video of the two of them. But it's absurd.
So that was the game-winning touchdown. The story of this game, though, depends on perspective. The Steelers' defense forcing 5 turnovers, or the Patriots' offense
fumbling the ball every 3 seconds,
handing 5 turnovers to the Steelers, 2 of which were on the goal line. So Ramondre Stevenson with 2 fumbles, Antonio Gibson with a fumble, Drake May with a fumble. They lost all of them. The Steelers recovered all 4 of those. And Drake May also had a tipped pass interception in the end zone. Now, Drake May also had a couple negated interceptions by, it could have been 7 turnovers. He had 2 interceptions negated by penalty as well. I'd have to go back and watch and see if fault was his. But the turnovers were the story of this game. The 2 on the goal line. The Patriots had a 17-play, 94-yard drive before the half. And Drake May throws the tip pass interception. So they get 0 points coming out of that. And then Ramondre Stevenson is going into the end zone. He's on his way into the end zone to tie the game. Fumbles at the half-yard line. And that was his second fumble of the game.
Yeah.
After having a career of fumbling issues.
It's actually amazing that he hasn't been kind of sat down and benched at this point long term. I mean, there are players that have had fumbling problems that have lost jobs because of it, and Ramondre Stevenson he's a good running back other than the fumbles. But the fumbles are such a large asterisk at this point that it's kind of amazing that he's maintained that job. And meanwhile, you're like, well, where's their rookie, Travion Henderson, who looked like a dynamo in preseason? He actually did see some game time in this game and was the one running back that wasn't productive with it.
Yeah, it was look, again, perspective-wise, I thought the Steelers were very disruptive up front. I came into the season thinking this defensive front's going to be so good and they've got talent on the back end, how bad this defense should be great.
Yeah. There was a moment where Drake May got sacked, I think, by both Nick Herbig and TJ Watt, and the commentator said something like, he's just trapped in a Badger sandwich there.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
that's good.
A great line.
That's good commenting right there. Herbig's awesome, man. He's still awesome. Disruptive. Cam Hayward, I think he had 1 or 2 official sacks. I forget the exact number, the officials. But got to the quarterback a couple times and had the tip pass for the interception. Watt had the 2 sacks in there. He had not been making those key plays. He had a fumble recovery too. He just always finds the football. So the disruption of the Steelers' front, and it all started, by the way, Cole Holcomb forced the first fumble. He came in and started stealing snaps from Peyton Wilson, who had struggled the first couple weeks, been out of position, got pancaked by the Robbie Utes, the Seahawks fullback, week 2. So Peyton Wilson, the linebacker, second-year linebacker, was taken out of the lineup at times. So Steelers deserve credit for what they did defensively, and then the Patriots, they're sitting there saying, we lost this game by a score because we kept turning the ball over.
Yeah. I mean, they were aggressive. They were going for it on 4th downs throughout the game as well. One of them was, a big play in their direction, 4th and 2, touchdown pass at the seam. Total coverage bust from the Steelers. Both linebackers just dropped it. They're both yelling at each other after the play.
On 4th and 2.
Right.
Yeah.
Who screwed that up? 4th and 2, and the tight end just wanders up into nowhere and scores. They went for it on 4th and 1 early in the game. Inside their own 20, they went for it on 4th and 1 and pitched the ball. I hate that play call. Ramondre Stevenson, again, he's a good running back when he's not fumbling. He had a guy to beat, basically, to get back to the line of scrimmage, to the yard to gain, picked it up. But, man, that was a pretty ballsy call as well. So they were aggressive on top of the high leverage fumbles and turnovers they had.
I think the 4th and 1, I talk a lot about the teams having the QB sneak package, so to speak, and you run your sneaks and you run your fullback dive, and then it's a fascinating part of football that you need to master now. And I think you should have all the sneaks, you should have the fullback dive, as an option. We see some teams get in the T formation, and just you need to have these high percentage plays, but you also have to have the constraint play, right? When you show fullback dive or you show QB sneak, you have to be able to do that. It is risky though, right? Because that's what the toss play is.
Yeah.
Right? You've shown over and over again, we're going to go up the middle either with a sneak or a dive or whatever it is. The toss play is the one counter that. But the number of times that you seemingly see that one blown up on 4th and 1 isn't great.
And I think I've looked into this before. I don't think it actually is particularly bad relative to other plays. It just feels like it's generally the further you're backing yourself away from the line of scrimmage when you have a 4th and short play to gain, the more I hate the play, right? Yeah. And statistically, I don't think that's actually backed up by evidence that says those are worse than any other play, but it just feels like a bad idea. I only have 6 inches to go on this play. Why would I voluntarily make that another 5 yards, right? It just feels like a bad idea. The Patriots' play calling in this game was generally kind of weird. They had a big drive before the half, the one that ended with the interception, the tip play by Cameron Hayward and a pick, which I think was going to get picked anyway. I don't know that the tip necessarily changed the outcome of that play.
When I first saw it, I thought the receiver was open.
It looked pretty rough.
Corner was sinking.
Anyway, they have a goal to go, and it's 3 passes from the 2-yard line. Okay, your running backs have been fumbling every 3 seconds, so maybe that's changing your play calling. But still, Drake May is – I'm not sure I want to put the ball in Drake May's hand 3 times from the 2-yard line, passing it, rather than let's try and punch this in at least once.
And he continues to make – May, I thought this was not a great game from May between – not the red zone interception. I don't think that was going to be on him. But, other turnover-worthy plays that he got away with, got sacked a few times. The time that he fumbled in the pocket, again, good pass rush, but he was holding the ball forever. They had just converted a big 4th down, and then he holds the ball forever and fumbles it away in a 14-14 game. The game management for May, I thought, had been really good the first 2 weeks of the season. It was not great in this game, including that fumble. And then the Steelers on the other side, man, they had 203 yards of total offense in this win. 203 yards of total offense. Rodgers finished 16 of 23 for 139, 2 touchdowns and a pick. I made the comment yesterday, it feels like the Steelers, after week 1, where there was some wide open touchdowns schemed up, really nice, it feels like the last 2 weeks they're building the entire offense on jump balls and checkdowns to Jaylen Warren. And by the way, Jaylen Warren's been playing great. He's got a lot of plays where he's just making guys miss. He's got no room to run these first few weeks as a running back, but had led the team again with 5 catches and had a couple big plays in there, creating after the catch. The Steelers' offense has no rhythm these last couple weeks. And for the second straight week, Rodgers just misreading linebackers. The guy, he has a low interception rate in his career for a reason. And even when he throws some picks, it's rarely just misreading zone coverage in the middle of the field. The last 2 weeks, thrown straight to linebackers. This week it was caught, thrown right to Robert Spillane. I don't think Rodgers is playing well at all, but the Steelers sitting here at 2-1.
Yeah, absolutely. The other thing that happened was Rodgers passed Brett Favre for 4th all-time in the touchdown passes number. It's kind of insane that one team went from one guy to the next. Like Favre
they
and
went
Rodgers,
from Favre to Rodgers with over 1,000 or 1,100 touchdowns. Or whatever,
Favre
right?
and Rodgers are like 3 and 4 or 4 and 5 all time in touchdown passes, and one team went from one guy to the other.
It is pretty crazy. And now he needs like 150 to catch Brady or something, right? Not really. 100 more to catch Brady. But yeah, the best throw Rodgers had was the game winner, which if Calvin Austin whooped Marcus Jones, it looked like Rodgers was back shouldering it anyway. Like he should have just gone over the top. But anyway, that was probably the best.
Calvin Austin's a good receiver.
He is legit. I'm still.
It is funny that he's the guy that Rodgers has decided, the one guy in like the last 15 years that Rodgers like, you know what? He's the guy I'm going to have instant rapport with.
It's still strange to me. Like DK Metcalf had another, I think maybe 15-yarder on a screen, and he had the jump ball touchdown, right? So they're throwing jump balls to DK, like use that. Mm-hmm. But they're not doing that down the field in between the 20s. They're not using him down the field. So he's become a yak guy in between the 20s and then a jump ball guy in the red zone. That's what I'm saying. That's why I'm half joking that they're building this entire offense off of checkdowns to Jaylen Warren and jump balls in the red zone. The jump balls are working, but I feel like DK could be more of an impact in between the 20s than he's been. Rodgers still struggling, I think, under pressure anytime there's a compressing pocket, including that interception.
Yeah, and Broderick Jones is still struggling to, not
block
give
people.
Pressure.
So, yeah, I think, again, Steelers, they pulled this one off despite not having a great offense. The first time the defense looks really disruptive, they jumped on all 4 of those fumbles. Ball's bouncing your way when you're getting all of them.
Yeah. By the way,
from a New England perspective, that is a massive missed opportunity.
Yeah.
To fall to 1 and 2 here.
I think it's time to put Trayvon Henderson in there way more than he's been as well. Like, I understand at some point he had a rough pass protection rep here or there, right? He was amazing at that coming into the NFL. Like, throughout college, he was one of the best pass blocking blitz pickup backs that anybody's ever seen. I don't think a couple of bad reps in the NFL in the first few weeks or preseason should be, well, let's junk everything we thought about him and not put him on the field because now he can't block anybody. Like, let's say that was a couple of bad reps. Running backs have those. Let's see if he can, improve that. Because right now, everybody ahead of him on the depth chart is fumbling every time they touch the ball.
I agree. Yeah. I think we might see that next week from the Patriots. All right, that's the 1 o'clocks. It's 9 o'clock. My goodness. We were pacing so well. All right, we're busy. We got a lot of busy schedules. Sometimes you only have a couple minutes to prep for a meal, Sam.
True.
Factor, though, helps you eat smarter with tasty chef-prepared meals that are delivered right to your door. And this is what saves a ton of time. They're so easy to use, especially if you have a microwave. Throw it in the microwave. You get
and I do
3 minutes in the microwave.
Like a normal person.
Man, my Factor meals, my last batch of Factor meals, filet mignon, shrimp.
They were good.
Salmon. I love getting the high-end protein. And it's impressive, man. They send it right to your door, throw it in the fridge, pop it in the microwave or the oven, whatever you want to use. Whatever you want to use. And it tastes like you just made it. And it's so good. I enjoyed my meals with my protein, my veggies, whatever you want. 65 weekly meals that are made for how you live, what you like to eat. They got a wider selection of meal options like the premium seafood that I talked about. That's where I went at no extra cost. It's really great value at Factor.
Absolutely. Yeah, the stuff was good. It was easy to make and way healthier than, what I would make for myself.
So with the new Mediterranean diet options packed with protein, good for you fats, Factor helps you support your wellness goals. 97% of customers say that Factor helped them live a healthier life. So you can eat smart at factormeals.com/CTM50OFF and use code CTM50OFF, 50 OFF to get 50% off your first box plus free breakfast for 1 year. What a deal.
Nice.
That's code CTM50OFF at factormeals.com for 50% off your first box plus free breakfast for 1 year. Get delicious, ready-to-eat meals delivered with Factor. Offer only valid for new Factor customers with code and qualifying auto-renewing subscription purchase. On to the 4 o'clock games here. We got the Los Angeles Chargers getting the win over the Denver Broncos, 23-20. I would describe this as 3 different games in one. What are you smirking at?
There's a part in that read where it's good for you fats, that can be like fats that are good for you. It could also be
good for you, comma.
Exactly.
Fats.
It could also be interpreted a very different way, which
How
I think
did I say it? Did I say it like I was talking to fats?
You said it in a way that made me
fats.
at least in my brain it was like, that's an interesting thing to say. And then it's like, I understand what he's saying now.
Maybe I was talking to me. I was like,
yeah,
it's good for you, fatty.
Like, yeah, look, this food is good for you, fats.
It's good for you, fats. That should be hyphenated. Good for you is the adjective.
No, I understand that now.
Adjectives should be hyphenated. Embrace the hyphen. Not as much as ChatGPT, but
this is like we were talking about this when it came to naming the studio, right? Sometimes you just got to be careful the way you say the words, or it can come across wrong.
Antonio Cromartie Studio brought to you by Huggies or something.
Yeah.
Is that what it is? Losing pace a bit. Okay, Will. All right, Will. We're slowing down. Don't worry. There's a Seahawks blowout to buzz through soon. I got that in the back of my brain. So 3 different games in this one. The Chargers get up 10-0. The Broncos, it takes a 4th and 2 busted coverage to get the Broncos back in the game. 52-yarder to Cortland Sutton. And then it's all Broncos. Like the middle of this game is all Broncos.
Yeah.
They come back. J.K. Dobbins just takes over the game.
And it happened fast as well. It's
right?
Like the Chargers are sort of winning the game in control, and then suddenly I look up and it's like Denver's up by a score. Like, what?
So they have the busted coverage, Cortland Sutton for 52 yards. And by the way, the Chargers, the pass defense stats are outstanding. There's a busted coverage for 52 yards to Cortland Sutton, and at least 3 passes that I think Bo Nix left maybe 150 yards or so on the table.
Yeah.
That there were open receivers behind this defense that have done a really good job of not allowing easy completions. That's how we've described this Chargers defense. Well, they allowed some easy completions, and the Broncos
statistically didn't in this game.
Right. Yeah. Opponents were 4 for 22 on 20-plus yard throws against the Chargers coming into this game. 4 for 22. And Nix missed 3 of these passes. But J.K. Dobbins takes over the game. He's got a long run. And then what goes into the box score as a 19-yard touchdown run, which was Bo Nix doing what Mahomes did a couple times, a backwards little swing screen where Dobbins makes a great catch and then runs it in through the defense. Like, Dobbins just took over the middle of this game.
Yeah.
And the Broncos are up a score with 3 minutes left in the game, and Justin Herbert takes over the game. And they kick the game-winning field goal with 5 seconds left.
Yes. Crazy game.
The Chargers.
Impressive from both teams, I think, in varying degrees. The Chargers, I think you got to give them a lot of credit for the way they did come back in that game. Under duress, Justin Herbert made a couple of ridiculous plays where he was under pressure, where he was escaping, making crazy throws, against the grain with all arm strength, like throws that are not that many quarterbacks can make. Nick Benito had Joe Alt.
I know what you're referencing. Just tell people. I know what you're referencing.
Dano had a tweet that was like, only 5 quarterbacks in the world can make this play.
Herbert's one of them.
Yeah. Dano, I think, has a trend of tweeting that way.
Only 5 people can do this.
Only 5 guys in the world can make this play. There were different 5 every time, and, it turns out when you add up the number of people that he's tweeted that about, I suspect you get to more than 5. But, it was a really impressive throw. And he made a few of them in this game.
The play that he made to Keenan Allen, I mean, first off, Nick Benito had 3 sacks in this game.
Yeah.
He was going up against Joe Alt, theoretically.
2 of which he just, smoked Joe Alt off the line immediately.
So I think one he put like a little crossover on Joe Alt. I think that was all on Alt. There was one where he got off the ball so fast, and I don't think any left tackle had a chance. Nick Benito's get off, I think Next Gen Stats has him with the best get off. They track that stuff like 0.7, whatever that number is. He was incredible. He's incredible, and it shows up. Like, no, Myles Garrett's up there as far as by their third step. How close, how on the tackle are you, or past the tackle are you? Like, nobody's better than Benito right now at that. And so another one was against the tight end pulling or whatever it was, or guard. But Benito was just in the backfield. And the game-tying touchdown that Justin Herbert had, it was the same thing. Benito is in the backfield, and Zach Allen wins almost immediately off the line of scrimmage. And Benito wasn't in the backfield, but Zach Allen wins right away. Herbert scrambles left. Benito's then in his face, and Herbert's scrambling left and hits Keenan Allen for a game-tying touchdown. The end-of-game sequence from Justin Herbert was, dare I say, MVP caliber, the whole sequence.
Yeah.
That game-tying touchdown. Then it's a tie game, and they get the game-winning drive opportunity, and Herbert marches them down the field for the game-winning field goal. Herbert it was an up-and-down game. He's dealing with injuries on the offensive line, a fierce Broncos pass rush, but the Chargers end up surviving, and love what Herbert did down the stretch there in the fourth quarter. Yeah. One of only 5 guys to make that game-winning drive.
Yeah, Herbert looked great. He's been playing at that kind of level all the way through the season. Poor old Najee Harris pops his Achilles.
That was awful.
Just a routine.
And Herbert jumped over him.
Dude, the ability to make that play.
That was unbelievable.
Not only does he jump over him, he's then standing there looking like the pass is right over the top of the guy who's on the ground, like his teammate is writhing in pain right in his eye line, and instead he's like, "No, I'm going to throw the ball right over your head to a receiver and make the play." I'm kind of amazed that instinct didn't kick in, and he's like, "Oh no," because if you're playing a sport and something like that happens, everyone stops.
Yeah.
It's like dude's on the ground in agony because something bad has happened to him. Everyone hold up, And instead, Justin Herbert's like, no, eyes on the prize. I'm going to deliver a laser right over his head.
The instincts to, leap over him, finish the play. Got a feel for Najee, though. There were some awful injuries, especially in the 4 o'clock window.
Horrible injury. And also, I feel like this is happening more, but it was like it was just the setup step for like a play action fake. He just put his foot in the ground and his leg just went, Achilles, snap. That, I swear that didn't used to happen.
Why is that happening?
So I messaged our guy, Vic Troja, from the Boo Boo Breakdown. I was like, is this my imagination? Like, is this happening more? And he sent me some data. He was like, it's funny you ask. I was just talking to a friend about it because we've definitely seen more and more of that lately. He looked it up. I think this is just talking about total Achilles. I mean, I think Achilles injuries equals Achilles tear. On average, there have been about 22 per season since 2020. Before that, from 2009 to 2016, there was only an average of about 14 a year, and then even less in years prior to that. So we are definitely seeing this significant and consistent uptick in Achilles tear injuries in recent years. Anecdotally, it also feels like more and more of those are like nothing burgers in terms of what, like the force. Sometimes you see these things where where a guy puts like a crazy force through his Achilles and you see exactly why the thing went no mass on this play and snaps. But like, remember Dre Greenlaw going on, like
just running out onto the field. In the
this Super Bowl. One, he just put his foot in the ground and his Achilles snapped. Like, there's been these plays where guys are just seemingly putting nothing through their Achilles in terms of force. Now, look, they're all big guys, like 250-pound people, I imagine, can generate quite a lot of force through their Achilles, even when it doesn't really look like it. But you would imagine in the lower end of percentages of forces they're putting through their Achilles in the course of a regular football game. Vic's speculation is just like, these super athletes,
stronger.
It's just like that's the straw that breaks the camel's back, as opposed to like they are consistently stressing their Achilles, and eventually your Achilles just says, forget about it on random plays. Like, it's not that play that's specific. It's that super athletes are putting a ton of force through their Achilles on a regular basis, and eventually that elastic band just snaps on a random play.
I've been impressed with the Chargers' pass game once again. Quentin Johnston.
Dude, he is making plays.
Making plays in traffic. Justin Herbert having the trust.
I mean, that was a broken play, an adjusted play by him. It was the classic, Quentin Johnson play where he's running across or over the middle. He's like trying to find the window. Like, first one isn't really there. Got to adjust, like bails on it, goes again. And then eventually he realizes it's now a completely broken play. Adjust deep the way you want a receiver to do. And then it's a contested catch, and he goes up over a dude, mosses him, makes the play. Those are plays he was not making.
Look at the well-distributed production here. Johnston led the team with 6 catches for 89 yards. Keenan Allen, of course, with his 7 for 65 at 9.3 per pop. Classic Keenan Allen as the dependable move-the-chains guy. Marion Hampton had 6 catches out of the backfield. Aronde Gadsden, the rookie, tight end/receiver, had 5 catches. Then Ladd McConkey had only 4 catches. And coming into the year, we said, hey, Ladd needs help. I would say overall this is a good thing for the Chargers. I think Ladd could still be a high-volume guy if you need him to be, but they haven't needed that just yet because Johnston and Keenan Allen and everyone else are making plays. Hampton did a pretty nice job running the ball as well and had a rushing touchdown in there. So Herbert finishes with 300 yards passing, 47 attempts, got sacked 5 times. I think it was impressive that he survived as he did. And then from a Broncos perspective, another heartbreaker. Second straight week, you did not trail in the fourth quarter, the Broncos, over the last 2 weeks, and they've got 2 losses. So they've lost on 2 game-winning field goals, including the leverage play last week. They are so close, literally plays away from being 3-0. They're 1-2. The Bo Nix missed plays, though. I know the locker room was backing him up, and it's not Bo Nix. It's a team effort and everything. It's what you should say.
Right.
But remember last year, he started off pretty slow last year, turned it around in week 3. It's 3 rough weeks so far from what I've seen from Bo Nix.
I think he was better in this game, and certainly his ability to scramble is so important. It's a little bit like Justin Herbert in terms of it catches defenses by surprise a lot of the time. And you're right. It's what they should be saying, but he did also miss a bunch of plays that probably would have been the difference between winning and losing.
Marvin Mims twice when our guys are the ones that they overthrow.
It's also unfortunate. So, yes, it wasn't all him. Troy went back to being rookie Troy and dropped a pretty stone-handed pass.
Franklin.
Yes, Troy
It would
Franklin.
have been negated by his own offensive pass interference anyway.
Right.
But, yes, he did drop one in the end zone.
That wasn't great. But, yes, particularly the ones to Marvin Mims, I mean, those are plays that if he makes those, they probably don't lose the game.
Yeah. Why is this telling me to sign in again? My list here. Anything else? So Chargers are 3-0. The Broncos are they the?
Ooh, so late in the game, Bo Nix has a scramble, 3rd and 13, almost picks it up. 6 minutes left. They're half a yard away at your own 29, 30-yard line. Punt the ball away. Would you have gone for that?
How much time was left again? Yeah,
6 minutes-ish. I could look up the exact situation if you need.
I thought that wasn't that right what set up the final drive?
Probably, yeah. The Chargers chewed up a lot of that.
3 minutes left.
Hang on.
Oh, no, they forced a 3-and-out and then got the ball back.
Fourth quarter.
You're right, they were up 7 at the time.
Yeah, here we go. 13. So 6 minutes left on 3rd and 13. They take it down to 5:15 by the time the 4th and 1 goes off. But yeah, like 6 minutes left. Bo Nix scrambled, almost picked it up, got 12 yards of the 13. So 4th and 1 from the Denver 29 with 5:15 left is when the 4th down goes off. They punt it away. The Chargers chew up the next 3 minutes and get a touchdown and tie it up at that point. But like you keep that drive alive, you are putting them under a lot of pressure.
That was a really impressive scramble by Nix.
Yes.
I thought he got it. He was barely down at the half-yard line. If it was under a yard, I think you got to go for it. That's the play I'm saying that I've been citing around the league.
It's crazy high leverage. It's risky, but it's the aggressive play that people are making now. And I was kind of surprised they didn't go for it.
But you know what the conversation probably was? Defense is playing great.
Yeah, sure.
We're trusting our defense. Trusting your defense is always risky. It's risky to give it to your offense and give the short field, of course, but
it's risky either way. This one struck me as interesting because I think a lot of teams would have gone for this in today's NFL.
In today's NFL, yes.
Even now, a lot of teams don't have Denver's defense, but still.
And I've already cited a whole bunch of plays like the Colts went for one. If they didn't get it, it would have let the Titans back into that game.
Doesn't it also just feel like you have more control over it? Even if it's a 50-50 proposition on either side of the ball, it feels better if you have the ball. I would prefer to have control over the plays I'm calling and executing and hoping I out-execute the offense as opposed to hoping that my counter to their punch is the thing that works.
The problem would be, because a couple weeks ago, the Broncos screwed up their late game situations a bunch. And I wonder, in hindsight now, they went for a 4th and 1 and didn't get it against the Titans in week 1. But that was Cam Ward in the Titans offense.
Yeah.
And so the Broncos put their defense in a bind, and the Broncos defense came through every single time. I wonder how much that played into Sean Payton's decision. Hey, I remember, put our defense in a bind. They still came through. Let's trust them. The problem with that is even if the defense is playing great and you're having awesome success against this Chargers team this particular week with their offensive line beat up and Justin Herbert playing as he is, it's still Justin Herbert with a pretty good group of pass catchers who are playing good football this year, and it's not Cam Ward and the Titans. That's where the models do a good job of accounting for that and saying it doesn't actually matter what's happened the first 3 quarters. There's a plethora of other information and data that should weigh into it even more. And so punting the ball to Herbert in the Chargers, even when your defense is playing great, is risky because he's good. And he's got dudes to throw to now.
That's huge. I think if you're in this world of, remember, this is always the thing that people say when they want to overrule the analytics or data is, well, what about the in-game quirks and the various intricacies and idiosyncrasies of each situation? The relevant sort of factor here is Justin Herbert is playing out of his mind at the moment, looking like one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. Do you want to give that guy the opportunity late in the game? I would say no, relative to normal, baseline situations or baseline numbers. Like, would Justin Herbert being the opposing quarterback change your average data set for this thing? I would say, yeah. If it's going to, it's going to change in the other direction. Instead, they punt and didn't go well for them.
So the Chargers are 3-0. Every other team in the AFC West is 1-2 now. Chiefs, Raiders, and Broncos. All tied for second or tied for last, depending on how you want to look at it in the AFC West.
Depending on if you're a glass half full or empty kind of guy.
And the Chargers with a very quirky, they've beaten every team in the division now. And they're sitting there at 3-0 with a 2-game lead and the tiebreaker over all other 3 teams through 3 weeks.
Yeah,
so,
the Chargers.
Good start for the Chargers.
I mean, they are establishing themselves as a true contender at this point. They are 3-0. Obviously, that's a good start. They're also beating some good teams now. They kind of gone better for the Chargers.
All right, let's go Seattle Seahawks and New Orleans Saints. Seahawks with the dominant win, 44-13 over the Saints. I mean, it was right from the start. Seahawks had this one in control. Your boy Torrey Horton with a huge game, but the Seahawks get up 21-0. Eventually, it was 38-3, and then 44-6 were the high points in the score here. Seattle, this was the Saints team we kind of expected to see at times this year. They've been competitive through 2 weeks in the Dome, but Seattle just too much to handle this week.
Yeah, so it was the Saints team, but it was also one of those ones where it went away from them fast, and it's like very early on, I think it became pretty clear that this was going to be rough. Like Torrey Horton gets a 95-yard punt return touchdown. Chaz Surratt, I think, basically killed, was it the punter? Whoever the last man back was, like buried him on the way. And then Seattle blocks a New Orleans punt. They're already up 14-0. It's like this is going to get, like this could spiral pretty fast, and it did. 38-6 at the half, and New Orleans took a field goal just before the half to get it to 38-6. Apparently 38-3 would have been their worst halftime deficit of all time, and the Saints have had some god-awful football teams in their history. Like for them to be setting records of worst whatever in team history, some teams some teams have been good for pretty much their entire career.
They started the paper bag thing.
Yeah. So for a team like the Saints specifically to be reaching all-time marks of futility is bad.
The Seahawks, no surprise here, we're 3 weeks in, but per our friends over at True Media, number 1 in special teams EPA generated. And when you have a 95-yard punt return from Torrey Horton plus a blocked punt in this game, that'll help. Torrey Horton had a nice receiving touchdown as well, and even though Sam Darnold only had to go 14 of 18 for 218 and 2 touchdowns, playing some good football, man. Didn't need to do a ton in this game.
That was a dime to Horton for his touchdown.
It was a dime to Horton. Another one to JSN. They had a scramble drill for 29, another touchdown, had a 45-yarder to JSN, second straight week. He hit the deep post to Smith and Jigba. Darnold's playing really good football. Mm-hmm. And even a scramble drill touchdown, I think it was the first one of the scramble drill throws. When Darnold wasn't playing the Lions and the Rams the last 2 weeks, he was very impressive in the red zone to me last year. As far as quick decision-making, I thought KOC did a really nice job scheming it up for the Vikings and Darnold, but I thought Darnold played really well in the red zone, scheming it up, tight window throws, seeing some of that here in this game as well. The touchdown to Horton, the touchdown to JSN. Just love the way Darnold's playing right now. Ken Walker had 2 touchdowns despite not getting much else going on the ground here. But, Seattle's offense getting the rookie Horton involved to go with JSN, who looks great. They've had a good couple weeks here.
No, they have. They looked spectacular in this game. Like I said, it's tough to analyze the game overall because it got out of control so quickly. And at that point, the script is so far against New Orleans. They're already the massive underdog. They're already the worst team. And you've got a guy like Spencer Rattler, now trying to play, a non kind of even keel brand of football to try and pull them back into the game. And it was never going to work. So from that perspective, it's tough. But Seattle's defense looks dominant. They got pressure from everywhere. Josh Jobe looks like a really impressive player for them so far this season. And then the offense has been efficient, put up the points it needed to, got the passes it needed to make. They look good.
Seahawks, part of my optimism around the Seahawks this year was that defensive fronts. They started teeing off once they got that big lead. Byron Murphy's had a good couple weeks here getting to the quarterback. They are legitimately rolling 7 or 8 deep on that defensive line. And so they're good up front. Derek Hall having a really nice season. He brings that speed to power element off the edge. So they got a lot of dudes who can get after the quarterback. And once you get that lead, I think it's going to be really difficult against this defense. We get to see them Thursday night, by the way. Seahawks Cardinals. It will be for our members, for all members, a special watch along this Thursday. Seahawks Cardinals, Thursday night football. YouTube memberships, they're all available. You can click the button.
And this
click
week,
join.
We won't have a battery go out because we'll actually use a camera instead of a phone. We believe that's the plan.
Hold on. I cannot meet right now. Very important meeting question here that I can't take.
No.
Live on air. So, yeah, check us out Thursday night. We'll do the watch-along, Seahawks-Cardinals, and then we'll do an instant reaction. So everybody's getting the instant reaction.
Nice.
But the members, you get to hang out with us. We'll be sitting on the couch watching the game, might have a score bug this time, scratching the surface of live feed professionalism here.
Yeah.
But, we can't wait to see the Seattle defensive front going up against Arizona. A couple 2-1 NFC West teams.
Yep.
Because the Cardinals lost to the Niners yesterday.
They did.
San Francisco 49ers, 16. Arizona Cardinals, 15. Niners moved to 3-0. Cardinals fall to 2-1. I thought this game was going to have a game-winning safety as the difference maker. But Mac Jones, despite a PCL injury, I believe it was.
Baller.
Plays through the injury. He could barely even complete a handoff at one point in the game before he maybe started feeling better toward the end. Mac Jones leads the game-winning drive, and we actually have a game-winning field goal from the 49ers. Eddie Pinheiro comes in with a 35-yard game-winning field goal. A lot to unpack in this game, even though it was just 16-15.
Yep, Eddie Pinheiro. So you get rid of Jake Moody, you get a kicker that can kick, good things happen. Kyle Shanahan, Josh Dubow from the AP had this tweet. Shanahan's record on one-score games for the 49ers before this season, he was 24-34 for a winning percentage of .414. 36th out of 46 coaches with at least 20 of those one-score games. 2025, 3-0.
What was the previous record?
24-34.
In one-score games?
Correct.
For Kyle?
Yes.
Wow.
And he's gone from 24, so winning percentage of .414 to batting 1,000.
Batting 1,000 is pretty good.
Can't argue with that.
It was really a fascinating game from both teams here. I've been citing throughout the day these key fourth down decisions and go for it. I mean, the Cardinals did it. 4th and 4 from midfield, early quarter in the third quarter. Nice little pass from Kyler Murray to Michael Wilson. That led to one of their very important field goals in a low-scoring game. That set up the field goal to make it 6-6. There was a point in the game where Kyler was dancing in the end zone, thought he was going to take a safety, but it ended up later.
Absurd.
Drive or two later, Mac Jones. There was a safety on a holding because the ageless Calais Campbell is so good and forced the safety, the hold that they called the safety to make it 15-13. It was a pretty entertaining second half, though, because in the fourth quarter, it was 6-6 going into the fourth quarter. Mac Jones hits Kyle Juszczyk for a 1-yard touchdown to make it 13-6. Kyler came back earlier in the game. Marvin Harrison Jr. Dropped a wide open over route. I mean, that
unbelievable drop.
Just a stone-handed drop.
Yeah,
paddle-handed SPAC.
2 stone-handers in the last 2 weeks, according to my notes.
Real 2 stone-handers in 2 weeks. I love it. But the same thing was open later, and he caught it. So he at least caught that. That set up the Trey McBride touchdown to make it 13-13. And then the play I'm talking about with 3:26 left in the game, Mac Jones drops back. He's in the end zone. Calais Campbell wins immediately against Dominic Pooney, who holds him. The hold started before the end zone, but carried into the end zone. What's the official rule there? Because I could have sworn there was a Sunday night game a couple years ago where a team got away with not getting a safety.
Yeah.
Because the hold started outside the end zone.
So I believe the rule...
And this did.
Yeah. I believe the rule is if the penalty continues into the end zone, they can essentially say it's in the end zone. I remember the player talking about it. I think they called it wrong, honestly. This one was interesting because he he got beat, held him, then kind of lost grip of him, and then grabbed him again in the end zone. So he did it twice.
I feel like he knew I shouldn't grab him because we're in the I grabbed him. I think he knew I grabbed him before the end zone, and then
But then he's like he's a guy that's 150 pounds bigger than my quarterback. He's going to kill him. I have to tackle him. He grabbed him twice, and it was the second one I think that got him done for the holding call. The other interesting thing about that is, by the way, right? Why were they even set up so close, basically in their own end zone? Because Sky Moore decides to field a punt at the 5-yard line instead of letting it bounce, which he did the next time they had a punt set up, right? Exactly the same. Landing at the 5-yard line, he lets it go over his head. It bounces right in the end zone touchback. Sky Moore fielding that punt. Why he's still back fielding kicks and punts of any description, given his NFL career so far, which on returns has been pretty disastrous. I have no earthly idea. But that decision set them up in a rough spot, and then Pooney getting whooped off the line causes that to end up as a safety in a big play.
Well, on the game-winning drive from Mac Jones, Sky Moore was one of the targeted receivers. You get Tonjes, you get Sky Moore, you have a defensive pass interference, you have Kendrick Bourne. This is who Mac Jones is throwing to. Yeah. Now, Ricky Pearsall had a huge game. There was also, talk about all these fourth down decisions, there was a 4th and 2 earlier in the game. Mac Jones hits a beautiful deep ball, hit Pearsall right in the face mask, who caught it. And that was a big play. Pearsall had a nice game. And Christian McCaffrey, once again, catching the ball out of the backfield. It was a screen to McCaffrey that set up the game winner. Just really impressive, man, that Mac Jones has played the way he has the last couple weeks. And in this game, he also overcame an interception to the Rabbit.
The Rabbit.
Threw one right to the Rabbit. DTD. Threw it to the Rabbit. Darian Taylor Demerson. Thought that was going to be the end of it for the Niners.
Were you aware that he was nicknamed the Rabbit?
No, not until it was shouted out.
Game?
Nope.
Yeah.
But look, we've got the Barbarian, we've got the Rabbit.
Well, it's good that they've replaced the Barbarian with the Rabbit.
I mean, the Barbarian played some snaps for the Jags.
Right. But he's no longer in Arizona. Now, you've got to keep the nickname power somewhere in Arizona.
The Barbarian and the Rabbit.
They just yelled it out like it was a thing everyone knew about. It's like, picked off by the Rabbit. You're like, what? That's a strange thing to yell during the course of a game, but okay. I didn't know that he was nicknamed the Rabbit.
But it's something we would yell. The Rabbit's playing Thursday Night Football. Watch along with us.
Let's go.
Every time the Rabbit makes a play, we'll shout it out.
The Rabbit.
Thursday night.
San Francisco was also 2 for 10 on third downs in this game. Still won.
Yeah. Well, you complete the deep 4th and 2 instead.
Right. The other thing, costly game again in terms of injuries. James Conner was playing so well, and the dude just got twisted up in a tackle. His sort of knee/ankle got wrenched backwards the wrong way. The Twitter doctors immediately, that did not sound like a good injury for him. Nick Bosa went down hurt as well. They haven't ruled out ACL for that. That would be obviously massively problematic.
He was seen walking off the field, talking to somebody in the stands, showing a thumbs down. Did you see that? So he did a little thumbs down. But I don't know if that means I'm not coming back in the game.
Shanahan has subsequently, I think, said they don't think it's an ACL, but they haven't ruled it out. I mean, they've got scans, et cetera. That would be, if they lose him to an ACL, that's awful.
They've been
Michael Williams went down, came back with a wrist injury, so he's at least probably going to play through it. But those are two of the best players in this game. Didn't come out of this game healthy.
I think they've done a nice job, I would say, overachieving up front, the Niners, with Robert Saleh coming in and getting Bryce Huff and getting some good play from Michael Williams. But losing a Nick Bosa would be massive for the Niners.
Yeah, overall, being able to come out of this game, they're 3-0, they're winning these games, and being so banged up, it's like that's great because you assume they're getting healthy at some point, and once they get all these players back, being able to get a bunch of wins in the bag under your belt would be huge. But if you lose a guy to an ACL, then he's not coming back, and that's the upside is no longer there. So, the fact that they don't think it's one is encouraging, but the fact that they won't rule it out is not.
2 more key plays I just wanted to shout out in this game. Fred Warner, in the fourth quarter, there were so many high leverage plays. There was a Fred Warner batted pass that gave the Niners one more opportunity. And then the real play to give the Niners one more opportunity. Upton Stout, the rookie nickel, third rounder, breaks up a pass, and that forced the Cardinals to punt. They punted into the end zone and on a coffin corner opportunity, so they had a chance to pin the Niners back again, punted into the end zone. I think that was a big play, and that set up the game-winning drive for Mac Jones and the Niners. So Upton Stout's pass breakup and then the punt into the end zone were 2 big plays that helped the Niners pull off the win.
Yep.
Pearsall, 117 yards on 8 catches, and then McCaffrey, 10 catches for 88 yards. NFL.com has him only guy with, I forget the stat. A lot of stuff.
Yeah.
A lot of
carries. A lot of stuff.
50 carries and 25 receptions through 3 weeks.
Yeah.
So Thurman Thomas in 1991.
Thurman Thomas.
MVP Thurman Thomas in 1991. Disappointing one for the Cardinals, and disappointing career for Marvin Harrison so far.
Yeah, dude. Why? Whatever about the overall level of production. He had some of the best hands you're going to see, and he's having stone-handed drops. That's the one thing. Like, how are you supposed to predict that coming?
Why
would a guy with glue for hands just stone-handed drop over the middle of the field when nobody's near him?
2 straight
games.
Why would that happen? It doesn't look smooth. Like, it feels robotic, all of his movements and everything. You see Michael Wilson making some good, like, even Michael Wilson and Zay Jones just look more natural as athletes at receiver, I guess.
I mean, I will say, look, it's wide open over the middle. Every receiver in the NFL should catch it. However, it's one of those ones where he's so wide open, he's looking to turn and run,
Yeah.
So part of it is he's taking his eye off the ball, trying to make the play after the catch. The other part is it's arriving at that awkward, irritating level, like between hands up and hands down. I always hate those as target levels, like put it here or down here. Don't, in the middle is just awkward. So it was like there were multiple things that made it slightly more awkward than it looked. However, you've got to catch that and make the play. You just have to.
However, you got to make that catch. All right, I got no more use for that game. Niners move to 3-0. We'll see the Cardinals in our watch-along this Thursday night. Chicago Bears get their first win of the season over the Cowboys, 31-14. 1-2 Bears, 1-2 Cowboys. Caleb Williams finishes 19 of 28 for 298, 4 touchdowns, no picks. As head coach Ben Johnson shouted out in the locker room, 142.6 passer rating. Shouted that out as he gave the game ball.
I always
First
wonder
win for Ben
those
Johnson.
Like, I assume someone's just handing them a cue card of like stats.
They get the same game book. I think they just get the game book.
But like because they're always doing this, right? You watch these head coach sort of celebration talks after the game, and they're always like reading out some little stats.
2.9 yards per carry.
Like, presumably a dude is just handing him a cue card and saying, "Here's 3 stats about this dude."
Yeah.
Like, he's not like, you know what? We really focus on passer rating here, and Caleb had a great one. It's time to shout him out. Like, he's just, the guy gave him a card, right? He's just reading out the numbers.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Dallas defense looks awful.
Yeah.
For the 3rd straight week.
Trash.
Yeah. And shout out to the Bears, man. They look good. Luther Burden, 3 catches for 101. Let's go through the sequence here. It started with the Tyreek Stevenson play.
It really did.
I loved your take on it last night.
I felt this game was going to go entirely in the opposite direction. Like, I thought the Bears were sort of primed for a bad vibe spiral. Dallas looked like they were moving the ball early and going to put up some points, and suddenly Dallas could sort of exert some pressure and run away with it. Instead, Javonte Williams with a big run, he's down the sideline, and Tyreek Stevenson just takes the ball away from him. Like, literally just he's sort of coming up on his outside shoulder, and you think he's going to punch the ball or like just go for a tackle. Instead, he just goes, no, just takes it.
It's such a good play.
Yeah, both feet still in before he goes out of bounds. Perfect. Turnover. So crazy, ridiculous turnover. Caleb then hits Rome Odunze for a touchdown shortly after. Odunze's been really good generally. Trayvon Diggs tried to do that sort of jam at the line and then bail, and slipped when he tried to bail and just fell over.
So wide open touchdown.
And it's like that little sequence goes from Dallas could put up early points and really put some pressure on a struggling Chicago team to actually the Bears steal a possession, put up an immediate score, and the whole thing has changed.
I mean, Dallas's defense is terrible, so I don't want to make declarations. This is the turning point for the Bears or whatever. Like, we have 3 weeks of evidence that we now know how bad the Giants' offense is when they don't play the Bears, right? The Cowboys. So, but after the Stevenson play, 31-yarder to Colston Loveland, the 35-yard touchdown to Odunze, the very next play to start the next series, they run the flea flicker, which, by the way, had one of those like really high tossbacks to Caleb Williams, which is like, oh no, can you put it a little more, get it to him quicker? But a 65-yard touchdown to Luther Burden, that was a bomb from Caleb Williams. And as you said yesterday, good things happen when Luther Burden is involved in this game. He had 101 on the 3 catches, and the touchdown also had a 7-yard carry as well.
Yeah, I mean, it was a flea flicker and kind of a coverage bust. It's not like he had to do an awful lot other than sort of sell it to begin with and then run into the open space. But, I mean, he does look like a dynamic playmaker. I feel like he can get him on the field more.
There was so many big plays. I mean, the reason Caleb Williams averaging 298 on just 19 completions. There was a 41-yard screen to DeAndre Swift on 3rd and 9. This Dallas pass coverage is awful for the 3rd straight week here.
Yeah, I mean, remember we said before offenses can average 5-6 yards per play. The Bears averaged 6.8 in this game because Dallas can't stop anything.
They had to run out the clock as well.
Yeah.
We had just before the half, and Dallas kept, from Dallas's perspective, they had to settle for a couple field goals. They did get a touchdown to tie it at 14. So I thought game on at that point. CeeDee Lamb, though, got injured early, got rolled up on early, and so they were missing him for much of.
Tried to come back, couldn't. Basically had one play, I think, realized he just couldn't work on that ankle, and that's him done for the game.
So that was a high-volume Jake Ferguson game. There was a lot of George Pickens targets, which eventually went poorly as he dropped one right into the hands of Tremaine Edmonds. But it was 14-14, and the Bears, they're up 7. It was 17-14, and then just before the half, they get a big play to Luther Burden again in the 2-minute drill, and then a wide-open Cole Kmet for a touchdown to make it 24-14. So this Bears offense, explosive after explosive in this game. That is the Ben Johnson offense. I think two things true. This was very much, what you expect from Ben Johnson when you're hiring him as the head coach. And this is also the third straight week I have zero faith in Dallas's defense, which might be the worst in the league.
Yeah, 10.6 yards per attempt, Caleb Williams. That's ridiculous.
I would have said the number, but the window cut it off on my thing, and it's just like, there it is, 10 points. I just had to scroll over a little bit more.
Yeah.
And I also say on the other side, Dak Prescott had that unlucky interception, had a bad one on 4th down later in the game when it was already out of reach. But Dak continues to play pretty well given all the circumstances. I think an discussed maybe is like Dallas's offensive line not being great. Tyler Guyton gave up a sack, which is one of the worst pass blocks I've ever seen.
Both tackles were getting whooped regularly in this game. I mean, yeah, Dallas's offensive line is not in good shape.
But credit the Bears defense, man. Like they got whooped last week by Detroit, start to finish. They had a rough second half against the Vikings in week 1. But the first half was good, and then this game was good. The Bears defense, they have shown flashes here where they can be feisty up front. The defensive line investments, we were criticizing them in the preview show, they're not showing up. They, as a front, I thought they showed up a little bit better.
Yeah.
In this game.
Their defense played well as well, and was they had a lot of guys get a ton of pressure. The flip side is true for Dallas, who the only guy that got more than one pressure in the game was Kenny Clark, the guy they traded for. Could have used a Micah Parsons in this game. But yeah, this was the Bears are going to be one of those, I think, confusing teams for a while, because I think they're capable of, when everything clicks, gelling well. They've got a lot of talented playmakers. Caleb Williams has got absurd talent if he doesn't make mistakes, or if he sort of hits the good end of his variance for a while. And maybe it requires a team like Dallas for the moment to be the dance partner for that to happen. But I think their upside, their ceiling is incredibly high. But we've also seen their floor is pretty low. If they have a game where it doesn't click and it just goes wrong, it can be messy.
Even though they didn't get the run game going, the Bears, they didn't really need it. But this was getting Burden involved. Adunze now leading the league, tied for the league lead in receiving touchdowns with Trey Tucker with 4. Only one catch for Loveland, but that was the one that went for 31. They got Zacchaeus involved with a 12-yard end around and a few catches. DJ Moore had a touchdown in there too. That was another, by the way, aggressive move. It was 24-14, and in the middle of Tom Brady, the announcer saying, I would kick the field goal here. The Bears go for it, and they have a wide-open DJ Moore for the touchdown. By the way, I think we should sunset play-by-play guys asking the color guy, do you think this is the right move to go for it? Unless the color guy's prepared.
Well,
there's I haven't seen anyone besides Greg Olsen prepared.
But there's two things at work, right?
Chris Collinsworth and Greg Olsen are the only two who are prepared to give an educated, should they go for it response, and without mocking. Well, the analytics say go. Of course they say go for it, without mocking it.
There's two things at work, right? There's, first of all, because every single 4th down situation now, the guys in the booth are being handed a piece of paper or a signal or whatever that says go, no go based off the data, right? If you are incapable of explaining that decision, you have not prepared for your job. You are failing as a broadcaster. So, and it's the color guy who's supposed to explain that. The play-by-play guy is just there for play-by-play. If, as a color guy, you are incapable of explaining why the data says go or do not go in this situation, then you are ill-prepared for your job and you're letting down the viewers. I think there's a debate as to whether the color or the play-by-play guy should be asking him in the first place, do you want to go? Would you go for it here? Because on the one hand, I don't give a crap, but on the other hand, I think a lot of people actually would be interested in hearing, would Tom Brady go for this 4th down? And that, I think, is
Tom Brady needs to be prepared to educate.
Well, no, because Tom Brady, I think there's a reasonable argument that Tom Brady's instinct on its own in this scenario is a relevant or an interesting nugget. Right? Would Tom Brady go for it on the fields in this particular fourth down situation? Yes or no? Let's hear him talk about it. But then you also, if you're going to reference the analytics, you need to be able to explain the decision that the analytics is making, right? Explain why there's a go or no-go lean in this data. And if you can't do that, you're failing, particularly for Tom Brady, because he can't do half the job anyway, right? There's like half of this gig you're prevented from doing because of your weird owner double standard thing. So spend the time you can't do the real job and actually learn what the thing is telling you. As you said, Greg Olsen can do it. It can't be that hard to learn why the numbers are saying one thing or other. So, I think generally broadcasts are failing people on these fourth down decisions. I think there's a debate as to whether you should ask the guy at all, whether he would go for it on fourth down, because I don't give a crap. But I think there's enough people that probably do that it's a reasonable question to ask.
I'm not saying because the information
but
isn't
I do
good.
think that
I'm saying because very few color guys are prepared to give an answer. Most of the time it's like, yes, I would. No, I wouldn't. And it is all feels, and there's no information.
But I think there's a degree to which that's fine, right? I am reasonably interested in hearing Tom Brady or Peyton Manning or whoever it is basically say, you know what, I wouldn't go for it here, or I would go for it here. Even if they have even if it's just a feel. Like, I've got no information backing this up. I wouldn't do it. That's kind of interesting on its own. But the thing that pisses me off is when they then go, well, of course, the analytics says go for it because they say go for it. That's just a stupid nothing phrase. It's a trope, and it's irrelevant, and you're only saying it because you're not actually capable of understanding the dynamic here.
And I'll say we've been here for 3 hours, all of the fourth downs in their own territory that I've cited throughout the show on purpose. You're not getting, I can't listen to every broadcast, obviously, but you're not getting as much like, oh, I can't believe they're doing this. We're not surprised anymore, which is at least a starting point. In this particular situation, I would say, though, Bears are up 10. It's late third quarter. It's 4th and goal from the 4, right? Which might feel like you're far away. This is similar to you don't want to go up 6.
Yeah.
Right? Because a field goal, it's only a 2-score game with a field goal. And, of course, Dallas could put up 2 touchdowns pretty quickly and win the game. So to be able to make it a 3-score game where if you fail, you're giving them a 96-yard field and you're still up 10, that's why they went for it instead of, hey, I would just kick the field goal because 4th and goal from the 4 has always been a field goal in my life.
But the thing that's annoying about it is that it's lazy. It's not a difficult thing to understand if you're simply tossing out analytics always says go for it. It's just you've been lazy and you haven't learned why that sheet of paper that you got handed that says go or don't go, you haven't learned why it says that.
I used to not know
and
the whys behind it until I researched the whys.
And the point is, if a guy, Greg Olsen's able to do it, it's not that difficult, right? It's just part of his job. Greg Olsen is the most prepared color analyst out there. And he's able to tell you every one of these situations exactly what the decision is and why it's for debate, and within 30 seconds.
That's the trick.
Sit down, I'm going to spend 5 minutes walking you through this. It's like, this is not a difficult sum to come up with. This is the decision they're making. The number says lean this way. If you're just like, data always says go for it, then you're being lazy. And a lot of these guys are paid a lot of money. You shouldn't be that lazy.
And by the way, most of them have either, if they wanted, they could have someone in their ear.
Tell them. Right.
And you, in the same way a head coach, like they should be treating this the same way a head coach does. The head coach doesn't make the decision on 4th down. They make the decision on 1st down. On 1st down, they say, hey, if it's 4th and 4 or less, we're going. 5 or less, we're going, right? They know before. You can get the same thing in the color guy's ear and say, hey, if it's whatever, 4th and 4 or less, they should go, and here's why, because it'll make it a 3-score game, or what you could give the one-liner that can then be conveyed. Anyway, congrats to the Bears for their first win, and Ben Johnson, his first win as head coach, and the decision to go for it on 4th and goal from the 4, which put the game away.
Also, congrats to B Squared in the chat, who's our newest insider member.
Oh, welcome. That's the real winner here. So he'll be around for the watch-along.
Mm-hmm.
There's a request for Dennis Miller to be back in the broadcasting booth.
Okay.
Oh, that did not go well. If anyone remembers that. Did not go well. We got one more game, right?
Sure.
We didn't forget anything, did we? Kansas City Chiefs 29, New York Giants 9. 20, what did I say? 22-9 was the score. Kansas City avoids their 0-3, the only 0-3 start of the Reid era. That's what it would have been.
And most importantly, keeps my survivor pick alive. I did the right thing. I got rid of the Chiefs. I used them, and I got the win, and I get the hell out of there, and I never have to worry about Kansas City winning again.
Let us know in the chat if you took the Packers in Survivor.
I think that it doesn't seem to update, I don't think, until the whole week games are done, but I feel like we lost quite a lot of people with the Packers.
Lost a lot of people.
With the Packers and the Carolina Atlanta game.
You lost Harry in Survivor because he took the Packers.
Yeah.
And he was sad. He was very sad watching these games yesterday. By the way, I've created a monster in Harry who, he's in the middle of doing chores, right? His mom's like, "Hey, my wife, hey, you got to vacuum," right? And I see him. He's got my wife's phone, holding the phone with the quad box.
Yeah.
While he's vacuuming yesterday.
Yeah.
Monster.
Wait till it the blocked kick, and he's like, son of a... slamming the phone on the floor. That's when you know.
I hear some screaming, because he'll be downstairs. Sometimes he's watching with me. Sometimes he's downstairs. I got my other kids watching. A lot of screaming going on, no matter what's going on. But he's out of Survivor because the Packers.
I think we lost quite a lot of people yesterday, but it hasn't updated me with the numbers yet.
I took the Seahawks, so I'm still alive. You took the Chiefs. You're still alive. 22-9. It was 6-6 just before halftime. Mahomes threw a prayer. They got a 50-yard pass interference, made it 9-6 at the half. An ugly first half, and then the Chiefs pulled away in the second half. A couple big plays with the pass game down the field. Tyquan Thornton game, man. One touchdown for Thornton. Had a second one that was just about in the end zone. Also dropped one there, but he's become a pretty big threat for the Chiefs because whether he's catching the ball or not, he had the great contested catch to set up their last touchdown. But he's behind the defense once or twice per game.
Yeah.
And he's been a big pickup for the Chiefs here.
I mean, it was kind of like the difference in the game was almost the sort of difference in variance between the just prayer,
the
deep shots.
Balls. Yeah.
Now, okay, Mahomes, you could argue, did more to sort of manufacture a one-on-one, winnable deep shot a couple of times. But, he threw the ball up ineffectively as a prayer a couple of times. One got a big defensive pass interference penalty, which, people debated. I thought it was fair enough. Another got a big Tyquan Thornton catch. Almost had another Tyquan Thornton catch, but the ball came out once he hit the ground. Meanwhile, Russ is tossing up prayers all day, and none of his receivers are doing anything about it. Okay, you can debate, do you want to toss up a prayer to whatever it is, 5'8", 180-pound Wan'Dale Robinson? But we know that it's not always about size when it comes to being a good deep ball target. It's about adjusting to the football and attacking it. And he did not adjust or attack the ball at all. The defender did. Same thing is true with Malik Neighbors down the sideline. He tosses up literally a sort of 50-50, giving a guy a chance to go make a play ball. And Neighbors doesn't even move towards the ball, backs up, and the DB goes and gets it. It's look, if you want to be Malik Neighbors, if you want to be the alpha guy and the playmaker for this offense, and you've got to go at least contest that catch.
I thought that was a little weak on Neighbors' part. Richard Sherman suggested Russ was a little late with it. I think both are true.
Yeah.
He could have gotten rid of the ball earlier. I thought Neighbors, though.
I'm not saying any of those passes were
that was a stop and jump and go get it. We used to, when we were grading for PFF, we used to have to debate what a jump ball, if it's a legitimate jump ball, the defender should win that versus is it underthrown? We used to have to debate those things. I felt like that was a pure jump ball.
I'm not saying any of these passes were spectacular by Russell Wilson, but I will say this is what Russ is bringing to the table in this offense right now, which is I'm going to put the ball in the air with a lot of air under it, and I'm going to give you guys chances to go make plays. It's like Jets era Ryan Fitzpatrick, right? That dude was lobbing up YOLO balls to Brandon Marshall all season long. And it's Brandon Marshall is either going to have the year of his career because of the opportunities Fitzpatrick is giving him, or he's going to get beaten at the catch point by DBs all season long, and it's going to be miserable for everybody involved. It's high variance. It's not necessarily good, but it is giving these guys the chance to make plays. And if they're not going to make plays, they're not going to win games. So, Russ didn't exactly cover himself in glory, but I don't think he was helped out by his receivers.
I think the Chiefs are a better team, despite both teams coming in at 0-2. Giants missed some opportunities. Some of their red zone play calling, they had a 3rd and 4 keeper to Russ. They had Russell Wilson on First off, he had an intentional grounding call, which I think they invented.
Well, it's not a call that's usually made.
It's not usually made, right? So
it's toss the ball right over a guy's head out of the back of the end zone.
So
when is that a penalty?
I'm curious what you think of that, right? So you've got like a little stick route on the goal, say the front of the goal line. Russ is in the pocket. Everybody's at the front of the goal line, I believe, on that play. And he throws the ball about 10 feet over everyone's head and into the stands. Everybody knew he was throwing it away, right? But theoretically, it went directly over the head of an eligible receiver. And so, again, I feel like we reinvent the intentional grounding calls every single year.
I don't see that. I don't remember seeing that call before. Like, that's a routine throwaway. There's a debatable receiver in the area, as in it goes right over his head. Okay, it goes 10 feet over his head.
And you knew that he was throwing it away, but he threw it over the head of an eligible recever, which has always been legal.
You've always been allowed to toss the ball out of the back of the end zone over a dude's head. Like this, I haven't seen that call before.
I detest the new interpretations of intentional grounding because the league is trying to protect the quarterback. And intentional grounding is trying to avoid a hit on the quarterback. And so there's no need to reinvent the rules. Even though I knew Russ was throwing it away, he threw it over the head. Like, what if he's just inaccurate? I've seen quarterbacks overthrow guys by him. Like, what if Anthony Richardson's just going to overthrow a guy by 10 yards under pressure? We're like, it's grounding. It's like, no, I'm Anthony Richardson, man. Sometimes I miss by 10 yards.
Just that bad.
You know? I know Russ was throwing it away, but, like, you kind of lose. I don't know. And then so they're backed up, and then they go, like, QB draw. Had some rough red zone reps in there. So Russ finishes 5 yards per attempt, 2 picks, 43.8 passer rating. Cam Scattaboo, though, ingested some life into the Giants. He had a touchdown run in there, 6 yards a pop, and led the team with 61 receiving yards.
I mean, he's just fun to watch. He's fun to watch. He's fun to be around as well. If you watch the video of Brian Daboll during the week where Scattaboo's just walking through the building screaming, he's just a giggle.
I love that. Daboll's like
24/7.
It's Scattaboo.
Yeah, and he's just like, wow.
You need that guy on your team.
Yeah, like randomly he's like, and Daboll's like, it's every day. Every day he's like this, just walking through the building, like screaming, whoa! It's great.
Giants were.
He's like that on the field as well. Like he's just. The dude legitimately injects some energy into the team.
He's
because
not Mike
like,
Allstott, but he does run through contact quite a bit. Graham Gano, the kicker for the Giants, was questionable right before the game with a groin injury. He came in to kick one short field goal, but he was limited.
This is an element to this game that was kind of interesting. The Giants basically couldn't attempt a kick. And there was one drive where George Karlaftis gets roughing the passer on third down. And that ends up being like a 6-point screw up because they score a touchdown. The drive gets extended. They score a touchdown. Okay, they can't make the kick because they don't have a kicker. So it ends up only being a 6-point mistake instead of a 7-point mistake. But like, dude, have some situational awareness here. They cannot attempt field goals at the moment. And you're giving them an extended drive by roughing the passer on third down. They would have had to punt that ball or attempt a ridiculous 4th and long. That's very, very foolish. So you have this weird situation where they probably can't attempt field goals at all. They end up later wheeling Gano on to attempt, one from 25 or something. And he made it, was in intense pain immediately afterwards. And now I'm like morbidly curious how far they're going to give him the shot from. Like, okay, he can make it from 25 just in pain. How far out are you willing to give that a go? Like, are you going to give him that shot from 35, from 45? Like, if the game had stayed close enough, I was kind of curious to see just what situation they would give Gano a shot from. Because, I mean, the punter, Jamie Gillen, had one effort. He's left-footed. So, number one, everything's opposite. Number two, he's also the holder.
He's the holder.
So, Gunnar Olszewski has to come in, hold for a left-footed kicker. The whole thing's off, right?
This is why punters aren't always kickers because they're often the holder. I mean, it's like a whole ordeal.
And
I could have sworn Scattaboo could have kicked that.
And that's independent of whether or not he can kick in the first place. Either way, they attempted one kick. It was a disaster, and they're like, we're probably not doing that again. So the option was Gano hobbled, trying to attempt a kick. Didn't end up being a thing because the Chiefs, went away, and it wasn't close enough for it to matter. But that would have been pretty fascinating had they kept this as a close, one-score kickable game.
Two other things I just wanted to note in this game. Coming off a week where Russ just kept throwing the ball down the field and creating some big plays, seam routes to Wan'Dale Robinson, go balls to Malik Neighbors, going up against Spags' defense, who's usually blitz heavy, third down, they're going to come after you, and they're going to make it a low percentage downfield shot, but it's at least one-on-one. And Spags barely blitzed in this game, about 15, 16% of the time. Rare Spags game where he just said, and I think it was the right move. It's what I love about football, is sometimes you just get this completely different game plan that's not even in line with what you do previously. Spags does not come after Russell Wilson. He's like, all right, I'm going to make you dink and dunk down the field, take the short stuff. And Russ, that's never been his game, right?
Right.
This is like, once the league generally said that, Russell Wilson's production went down because he wants to throw, he wants to make these big plays. And it was like a couple dink and dunk here and there. And it's like, I got to force one. You got the itch. He had to throw the moon ball. He had to throw them up, and it just wasn't working. So you got the 2 picks in there, and you just low percentage plays again for the Giants. And I thought that was really well done by Kansas City's defense. And then the other thing was the 2 Mahomes plays where he throws the ball backwards. Yeah. He had 2 backwards laterals.
What are we doing?
Now, did you see the second one in particular? Pacheco is like
facing the wrong
retreating
direction,
backwards and facing the wrong way. I feel like he releases like that sometimes, and I don't know if it's by design. I don't know what it was.
I don't know what he was doing on that play. I don't know that it really matters. It's not a good – it's a panicked, weird throw from Mahomes anyway.
It's late, and it's behind, and it's
kind of fired at him.
Into the dirt.
Yeah.
And so we used to joke.
Like the first one was ridiculous. The first one was like a bullet laterally.
Yeah.
And I think he got a bit unlucky on that one because it was supposed to be a sort of pass, and it ends up being fractionally behind, and that makes it a live ball, et cetera. The second one was more reasonable in terms of he understood where the guy was and knew immediately it was a backward pass, and that's where the problem arises. He also, by the way, made the best defensive play of anybody in this game on that play.
Yeah.
Like, it was a ridiculous pass. It gets turned over. The guy scoops it up. Mahomes tracks him down and strips it from him. Like, forced and recovered his own fumble, doesn't get the credit for it because they say, he didn't have it long enough for it to be possession. But he did. He had possession of that ball, and Mahomes took it away from him. That was the defensive play of this game. It's just a shame that it was fixing his own mistake.
That was in a 6-6 game, I believe, when that happened.
That would have been huge.
The Giants would have walked in for a touchdown potentially there. So it was a terrible play by Mahomes, and then a great play to just recover it and fix his mistake.
Yeah.
But that panic backwards lateral play, we used to joke, that was like Kirk Cousins did that a couple years ago. He did it multiple times in his career, where it's like a panic backwards throw, fumble, and Mahomes did it twice in the same game. But yeah, the one he did, he ended up saving it with the fumble recovery. Mm-hmm. I also thought the Giants, we talk a lot about their defensive front, having Thibodeau, Burns, Dexter Lawrence, and then Abdul Carter. I loved the way they played that. They were very much trusting 3-man rush plus Abdul Carter as an add-on rusher, and they would mix up blitzing him versus keeping him as a spy. And as my mind was saying, he's the perfect spy for Mahomes with his speed and track down ability, and he kind of is as far as cutting off angles, but even he succumbs to Mahomes' scrambling ability. And on that, the before the half prayer, Abdul Carter missed the sack, and then Mahomes threw it up, got the 50-yard. Like, that was a big play there. So, look, I don't think it was Mahomes. Like, the passing game has been bad in Kansas City. But for the third straight week, there's just a handful of Mahomes plays that end up becoming the difference in the game, and that was one of them before the half. And even though it's not sinking, Mahomes still makes like enough plays usually to keep his team in it, even though they're only 1-2 right now.
It is kind of fascinating because Mahomes is not playing particularly well at the moment, and he's making some mistakes, and there have been some bad plays in there as well. It is also perfectly fair to point out that this supporting cast and receiving core is pretty bad right now. Like not Dante Thornton. What's his name? Tyquan Thornton. Yes, other Thornton. Tyquan Thornton is like almost the main threat that they have right now. And this is a dude that's been run out of bad receiving cores in the NFL for not being worth their spot on the roster. So, like, it's reasonable to say, look, the offensive line is not amazing. The receiving core is terrible, and Mahomes is making the best of a bad situation. And, of course, you're going to see some negative plays in there because that's what happens when you can't trust anybody to make plays all around you. It is also reasonable to wonder at this point, like, we are multiple years into Mahomes not playing really like Mahomes. He has not played at the peak of his ability for quite a while now. And last year nobody cared because they won all the games and they got to a Super Bowl before the whole thing unraveled.
Yeah, before they won the Super Bowl, despite the offense being not great.
It is now a reasonable discussion to have to say, is he just going through a period now where he's not playing at his peak, or is this 100% down to the supporting cast around him being worse than it used to be?
Right. I mean, that's the thing. Like, if you're going to blame the supporting cast over the last 2+ years, then you probably have to credit the supporting cast for their gaudy stats, right? To a point, right? Having Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce in their prime is a huge factor in the stats, even though Mahomes was awesome during that time as well.
But the other thing is they can both be true at the same time. Like Nick Wright will presumably be out here saying it's all the supporting cast. Mahomes is still Mahomes. He's still the best quarterback in the NFL. And the second you give some half-decent players around him, you'll see that MVP, superstar, greatest of all time right back in the building day one, right? It's possible that both those things are true at the same time, which is his supporting cast right now is a lot worse than it used to be, but also he's not playing as well as he used to be.
Yeah.
Even independent of that. Like if you adjusted for the supporting cast, he's not playing as well as he used to be. And I don't know which of those three things is true. One, it's all him, it's all the supporting cast, or it's both.
I'll tell you what will be interesting as we just had Tom Brady play well into his 40s. Play well into his 40s. Aaron Rodgers now playing into his 40s. Stafford getting up there, and we think that's changing. If Lamar, Allen, and Mahomes, as they get into their 30s, and they're relying way more on their legs than these other guys.
What if they age like Joe Montana rather than
Well, that's what
Tom
I mean.
Brady?
Like, they're on this pace to be Hall of Famers. Certainly Mahomes, instant Hall of Famer. Lamar's going to be a Hall of Famer. Allen's on pace to be a Hall of Famer. Like, those guys are going to be Hall of Famers. Who knows about Burrow with all his injuries now? Those three will be Hall of Famers. I do wonder. Brady's success after 30 was way better than his 20s. It was incredible. 35 plus. It was incredible. Are they going to hit a wall at 34, 35 that quarterbacks haven't hit in a while? This whole new group of quarterbacks that are relying more on their legs, taking hits, the number of hits that Allen takes, it'll be interesting to see because you can look at paces.
Yeah.
Like the pace for Allen and Mahomes and Lamar is outstanding. And if you want to compare it to Brady, it might look better. But I don't think anybody's going to do what Brady did between 35 and 45 years old, which was out of this world. So that'll be interesting as we, get into all-time, legacy type stuff.
And the one thing that is consistent this year is that Mahomes is using his legs more and putting himself in harm's way more than he has had to in the past because he feels it. He knows that they don't have the margin anymore. This is not a team that can afford for him to protect himself and, not take a hit and not use his legs to scramble. If they do, they don't win the games. He knows he's got to take those plays. And he said it. He's like, I usually save this stuff for January when we really need it, but we really need it now.
Right.
So he's taken more hits this year than he used to.
So two things really quick. The Chiefs needed this win, obviously, to make it to 1-2, to play the Ravens next week.
Yeah.
So pivotal game against the Ravens. They're at home. It's in the 4:25 window. Baltimore plays tonight against the Lions, but a huge game next week for the Chiefs to try to get to 500. And then the Giants, 0-3. They still brought in Jackson Dart for a couple plays. And the people are clamoring for Jackson Dart to come in. My stance. You got to sit there and suck it up and wait till Jackson Dart's ready.
But everyone's,
just give me Jackson Dart already. I'm just saying, I remember this when Andy Dalton was the starter and Justin Fields was the backup. And just give me Justin Fields already. The NFL fan in me wants to see Jackson Dart. I don't want to see Russ, really. The fan in me wants that. But for the Giants organization, it doesn't matter how bad you are right now. You're supposed to be bad. But when Jackson Dart's ready, you do what's best for Jackson Dart for 2026 when I take over as GM. Don't ruin him for when I take over this team next year.
But isn't it funny how quickly it changes? Like last week, Russ has the big game, a lot of production, and you're like, it's bought him some time.
I still saw people being like, I'm done with this Russ thing. I know he just put up 450 yards, but I still see people being like, done with this.
But generally, your take coming out of that game is, I think that's probably bought him a few weeks. And meanwhile, we're like in the third quarter of this game, and people are like, put in the kid now. I'm sick of this. It's time.
But then you play this game. They got the Chargers now. You want to play the Chargers defense next week? You want to play Spags this week? Do you want to play these good defenses? We didn't predict everything perfectly, but we did predict, hey, the Giants might lose a lot of games early on and have a decision to make, and Daboll's in year 4, and Joe Shane's in year 4, and you got to show some life here, so it might be, is it Jackson Dart time?
Yeah, I mean.
We'll talk about it this week.
Did we get clarification on Andrew Thomas. So he was back in the lineup, and initially it looked great. Andrew Thomas was stonewalling Chris Jones. He was dominating. I don't think he gave up any pressure in the game. And then he goes out, and Marcus Bowe is back in, and suddenly things fall apart a bit on the offensive line. Bowe did not hold up nearly as well at left tackle, and there was debate. Was this a pitch count for Thomas coming back, or did he get hurt again? What was the deal?
He was on a pitch count originally, and I think he got hurt, and that was it. Enough injury that's from what I've seen.
That guy is unfortunately starting to become quite a fragile, brittle, non-reliable offensive lineman, which is really annoying because he's so good when he's out there.
It is. It's unfortunate. But yeah, we say creep back toward average a lot, but one player makes a big difference on the line.
Well, I mean, yeah, again, there's two sort of things. He's really, really good, and having one of those top 5 caliber offensive tackles is huge, like Minnesota and Christian Darrisaw, very similar dynamic there. That's part of the scales. The other side of the scales is that the guy replacing him is probably not good, and probably very not good. Now, it's maybe different for the Giants because they've got a rookie in Marcus Bowe. Maybe he will be solid, but generally, when you have to go into the bench, most teams do not have like a particularly capable backup tackle or swing tackle. Most teams have trash at the backup tackle spots. And when you have to start trash on the offensive line, you get wrecked, particularly when you're going up against, guys like Chris Jones or whatever. So those are both factors. A guy like Andrew Thomas is so good, I want to see him in the starting lineup. The Giants do not have enough talent that they can have one of their best players not in the lineup on a weekly basis.
No, I agree. And now we have it's more Cowboys data points here. The Giants offense has looked awful in the 2 non-Cowboys games. We'll see if there's a Jackson Dart start in the future here.
We also saw Abdul Carter cosplaying as Micah Parsons even further with the hybrid linebacker off the ball plus defensive lineman deal.
He was playing off-ball linebacker. I love the spy thing. And I think he's good in that, mush rush role and spy and pass rush here and there. I like that for the Giants. They just, need other things to come together as well.
Brian Burns had a really good game, in large part beating up on Juwan Taylor at times. Dude, what is Juwan? So, okay. Juwan Taylor's become a kind of like a punching bag because he's in primetime games. He regularly gets a false start and or illegal formation penalty. It happened in this game, and he's sort of become such a punching bag for this that NBC had a whole illegal formation like graphic ready to go to explain what he's getting penalized for.
It's not great.
That's pretty rough. But then, like a couple of plays later, he lined up normally, and he looked so bad. Brian Burns just whooped him. It's one of those ones where you're like, this guy doesn't belong in the NFL. Like, obviously his baseline is not that bad, but he looked so bad on that rep. They're like, how is this guy still in the lineup? Is he hurt in addition to being a penalty magnet, or what is the deal?
How many penalties? I mean, he was never a great tackle anyway, but.
No, but this, like, that rep, I mean, look, it's one rep. Sometimes guys have really bad reps, but that one rep looked like there's no way it could be worse. Like, Jalen Moore's on $15 million a year. He cannot be worse than that rep.
We're over 3 hours. We got to wrap it. We got Lions-Ravens tonight.
Nice.
Fun Monday Night Football game to wrap it up. We'll be going live instantly right after that. Of course, that's for everybody here on the YouTube channel. Be sure to hit the subscribe button. We've been dropping the audio response to that on all your podcast channels as well, wherever you listen to podcasts. So you'll get a
little bonus show,
a little bonus Tuesday morning, Monday night audio show. But hit subscribe on YouTube, do the things, and then join the memberships here. Join the memberships. Superfan is still the $2.99 option. Superfan gets you in, gets you in the door for the watch along starting on Thursday night. Seahawks Cardinals.
Yeah, help support the channel. You get yourself a little merchandise discount as well. You get all the fancy name icons and all those kinds of things in the YouTube chat as well. And then Insider gets your name on the wall. Yeah, it's your name on the wall, written in the studio, the Check the Mic studio, not the PFF studio. See, didn't do it this time.
Is
get your name written?
Is it the Check the Mic studio, or is
that's true. Well, yeah, it gets your name written in the what do we call this thing? The
Antonio Cromartie studio in part with Huggies.
With Huggies, yeah, it gets your name over there anyway, on the wall.
That's it for us from the Antonio Cromartie studio in partnership with Huggies. We'll see you again Wednesday morning With more, check the mic.